to you guys very soon.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to Learn How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara. I'm Sharif, and as per usual, we're going to wait for everyone to mosey on over from the other stream there. We already have a couple of people, Bears versus Bulls as usual, of course, and Moaz Moamin, and then we got Fat Figga as well. Okay. We got people coming in quick today. The Crazy Stitch Lady, Cop 69, Callum Mitchell Miller. There we go. We got one of the OGs in the chat, Darwin and Jakob. Hello to you, Jakob. Rock, Chelsea, Ashley, Big Adam Deluce, Future Eddie, I like that. Fonzie, no Lambo trade for you today, Ponzi. Chris, we got Palmetto, Nick, Alex, Stephanie, James, Dell, and then MM, I'm moist. Okay, cool. That's nice for you. Big Michael Lloyd as well, KZ, Crypto Blogger, Andrew Ditter, Zero, Matt Booth, a lot of names that we know there in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining Adara and I today on the midday. As Neil mentioned on the morning show, he will be moseying onto this side of the desk and helping us kind of wrap our minds around his morning routine. It's called the morning mix, how he finds stocks. You know, the Katina Man has his sticky note. Adara does the watch list. I tap dance, it's all good there, and we'll be getting some good information from Neil, but that will be at 12 o'clock. All right, today we will be going through my personal watch list, the watch list that I use every day. It's a stagnant watch list. I add to it every now and again, but I subdivide it by sectors and by industries, and it's basically what I look at every day to see what's popping off, what's moving higher, what's moving lower, and try to get trade ideas there. We'll be bringing that one in just a second. But first, let me tell you about the trade that I'm in currently, QuantumScape. What? It's 2020 again? What's going on over here? QuantumScape's back in focus, and here's why it's moving, guys. QuantumScape stock is surging on big news today. Is it a buy for 2024? Here's the article. Surging in Thursday morning's trade, the battery technology specialist share price was up 25.3%. Volkswagen Power Company subsidiary announced that it had completed a test of QuantumScape's solid-state lithium-ion battery for electric vehicles, and the results were encouraging. The test found that technology could be used to power up to 500,000 kilometers of travel in an EV with barely any loss of charge capacity and driving range. Despite its recent rally, QuantumScape stock is down 94% from its peak. That's why I was joking about being 2020. In case you guys are wondering what QuantumScape does, they are trying to figure out a way to make a solid-state battery that doesn't degrade with repeated charging. It's kind of been one of the holy grails in electric vehicle production and battery production, really, not just electric vehicles. They had a crazy valuation at one point, and there was all sorts of lawsuits that started coming in from investors claiming that they had, artificially inflated the results of their tests. This, that, and the other. They're still alive 3-4 years later, and here they are popping up almost 28% on the back of good news with Volkswagen. We'll have to see how that does. Long guys on this bad boy at 8.15. I had a drip trade. I had a dip trade set up for that $8 area. It looks like it came into 8.03 and then really didn't dip back into that whole dollar area. So I wasn't able to add a little bit more. I was hoping to get a better cost basis there with that dip trade, and hence the teal order there. We'll have to wait and see how this one does. Darwin saying QuantumScape is backed or was backed by the Bill Gates. We'll have to. I have no idea if that's accurate or not. Shout out Darwin. But yeah, how is everything on your end? Everything going well? You're in a nice trade there on BESLA.
I did get involved in BESLA, which hopefully will continue to be BESLA. I got involved in this a little bit in the middle of the movement, which I don't love. I tried for a drip trade, which I'm going to steal from you now because I love that. I know it was accidental, but I feel like we need
trade, baby.
Drip trade, yeah. So I mean, let's see if how we do on this. But yeah, so still and the same here. About 30 cents in on this Tesla trade. I have to say I'm pretty happy with it so far. Pleased as punch. I make it part of the position out at this 240, 220, because the fact that we wicked up to that twice and had failure, that gives me a vibe, a spidey sense that this might be a bit of an area for Tesla, this 240, 220. So I might get out part of my position there. But because we do have this general pattern of higher lows, higher highs, I foresee a bit more movement here, so I wouldn't get rid of the whole position there. Also, my weight loss names are running today. I say my like I don't. I have no connection. I just enjoy trading them. But Eli Lilly here, I would like to see a bit more pickup here at this 629, 628 area, but 628 is a crazy level for Lilly. Look at this. Resistance, pre-market resistance actually, or I guess right after we open, yeah, pre-market resistance becoming support. So I like that. I like the look of that. I want to keep an eye on this. And I also like the way we shot up at 628. I was trying to get filled right below 628, and then we swooped to the upside. I was like, I guess Eli Lilly really does not care about my feelings. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a really interesting look on Eli Lilly. I would like to see what we're seeing with Tesla, which is that continued higher highs, higher lows. Also, Stop Console Wars was talking to me in the chat about Novo Nordisk. I have seen Novo Nordisk. I like the look of Novo Nordisk, making new all-time highs. This is another one I kind of tried to get filled in did not occur, but if we see another dip, I would like to get involved in that. Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly's catalyst was related to direct-to-consumer weight loss drugs. Novo Nordisk is financing some of the small cap runners, say one of them for sure, Omega, with regards to obesity research, so I think Novo Nordisk is a good look as well. Weight Watchers potentially for either continued downside movement or recovery, because Weight Watchers moving a bit lower, they were trying to do similar to what Eli Lilly is doing with this direct-to-consumer weight loss drug, failing at that a little bit, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on Weight Watchers. But for now, I'm liking the trade I have in Tesla, and hopefully the Cybertruck will continue to keep the fake gas on. I was gonna say keep the gas, but I guess
the
it's
accelerator.
Not gas.
There, you can say accelerator.
Thank you, accelerator. There we go. So hopefully that can continue accelerating to the upside.
All right, guys, let's get into the lesson. So essentially, this is my watch list. I break them down into three components. You're going to see a G, a V, and then ETFs over here. I'll explain what that means in a second. Essentially, what I did initially when I created this watch list, I broke them down from growth stocks to value stocks. That's really no longer the case anymore. It's more by sector. I just didn't want to keep them all in one watch list, so I created tabs over here for V and G, and then ETFs is obviously, very self-explanatory. They're all ETFs watch lists. So we'll start with the first marker right there. So you'll see the white bold is the separation of categories. So on the top, you're going to see market. Below that is big tech, then microchips, etc. Let's start with the market. So I have several little entries under the market, the first being the ES. The ES and the NQ are the two indices that I keep my eye on the most, by far. Don't really care too much about the Dow, care a little bit less about the Russell, maybe a little bit more about the Russell these days because it's pumping. But the two that I want to see what they're doing every single day is the ES and the NQ, okay? And those are the two entrants first on my markets list. The market gives me a general view of the overall market. Before I look at any specific instrument itself, I want to see what the market is up to. First, ES, NQ. Below that, we have the Dow. The Dow's been doing good lately, It's up to yesterday, it's up today, 0.5%. So that's what the YM. And these are the futures contracts, guys. These are not the indexes. I'm looking at the futures contracts for the four futures contracts here with the ES, the NQ, the Dow, and the Russell. And they're all the March 15th, 2024 contracts. So those four markets I keep my eye on, and I have them under the market heading. Below that, I want to know what yields are up to, especially in 2023 and going into 2024, where interest rates are going to be in focus. I want to know what the yields are up to. The 10-year, the 2-year, and the 30-year are the ones that I'm watching. And what I'm watching there are the continuous contracts. The reason being, it's easier for me to chart. I'm not trading them. It's just for me to know where they are relative to support and resistance on their charts. And for me to chart it properly, I need the continuous contract. Otherwise, there is interruptions in the price action and an obvious drop off in volume before people rolled into the new contract. So as a result, I use the continuous. Again, the 10-year, the 2-year, and the 30-year are the ones that I keep my eye on. Below that, I want to know what the US dollar is doing. But because my platform doesn't offer the DXY, I just put US dollar to CAD, right? The US dollar versus the Canadian dollar, and that's how I keep tabs on the greenback. Below that, I want to know what gold's up to. Gold's been, doing decent lately. Reclaim 2000, started knocking on the door of 2,100. And, you know, depends on who you really listen to, whether it's a volatility hedge, a fear hedge, an inflation hedge, whatever the hell gold is doing nowadays or whatever it's useful for. I keep it up just in case it starts making moves and there's any market movement as a result of it. So gold below the US dollar. Below that, I keep my eye on oil, right? So I got the CL February 2024 contract, and that is West Texas Intermediate. I don't keep my eye on Brent. I care about WTI. So below that is the futures contract for oil. And last but not least is the tick index that we talked about when we did that. I think it was the second last week of 2023 when we talked about the tick, what advancers and decliners. How many stocks in the NYSE are moving up versus moving down, and the difference between them is what's reflected here. So as you can see, it's a green number, 474. That means 474 variants of uptick movers versus downward movers. And then this ALB is really nothing. I shouldn't have even included that. So those are the market. That is what I have under my market category, guys. And these ones is just basically to give me a view of the overall market, nothing specific. Below that, lo and behold, I have big tech. Big tech, very important for me. They are the drivers of the overall market, especially in 2023 when all the heavy lifting was done by the Mag 7. I want to know what these bad boys are up to at all times of the day. And I don't keep them in any particular order. I don't want you to think because I have Netflix on the top that I care more about Netflix. Not at all. It has nothing to do with that. They're just sporadically dispersed. So Netflix, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, both Googles. I just want to keep a tab on both Googles, Amazon and Tesla. And I have NVIDIA here under the microchips. Even though obviously NVIDIA is part of the Mag 7, it's so close because I keep my microchips and big tech watch or categories there in my watch list super close together. So NVIDIA is never far off from big tech there, keeping my eye on that. Below big tech, I've got microchips and semiconductors. That's an important sector for me for a multitude of reasons, but I want to make something specific. These sectors, like I can move EVs up on my watch list. So if EVs become important, if they start moving more, then I'll move them up. For example, I have my Chinese ADRs below EVs. If I want to keep tabs on Chinese ADRs for whatever reason, because China started recovering, that's what I'll do. I'll move Chinese ADRs higher up on the list so I'm able to see them, okay? So this is what's involved, this is what's included in my microchip watch list. So if you want to hit a pause, screenshot, whatever, to copy some of these bad boys, obviously the NVIDIAs, the AMDs, the Intels, Micron, Taiwan Semi, ARM, Broadcom, ASML, AMAT, Qualcomm, SMCI. I have the SMH, which is the ETF there as well, and then some more obscure names like Marvell, NXPI, Pi, etc. You don't have to worry too much about those. Those aren't big movers. They don't do that much volume over here, okay? But before we go down any further and show you exactly what else is included on my watch list, let me talk a little bit about the columns that I've chosen to include here. And this software allows you so many different data points that you can include in the columns here. Here's what I've chosen, all right? And this is no comment on what anybody else has. I obviously have the price or the points, so that's under last. There's change percentage, and I've made this comment before. Change percentage for equities either starts at 4 p.m. from the price relative to 4 p.m. close the previous day, or the start of pre-market trading today at 4 a.m. It really varies upon your software, okay? Each one will be different. So change percentage is different than the next column over, which is change percentage since open. That one starts calculating the move from 9:30 onwards. And if you are a more after the bell trader and care less about the pre-market price action, this is what you want to keep your eye on. So I have both columns in there, change percentage and change percentage since open. And then there is change, which is the actual either point value or dollar value of the actual move. For example, Netflix up 1.13% since the open, but up $8. So it shows me exactly what the actual notional move on the particular instrument in question is. Next to that is volume. I want to know if there's being volumed on the day, right? Like look at Netflix, for example, compared to the Mag 7 names. Netflix by far doing far less volume, 1.14 million shares for Netflix. It's even doing less than Goog. Goog is second last there with, or not even Goog, it's Meta. Meta's doing 3.4 million shares on the day. So Meta second last there from Netflix. Beside that is the shortable shares. That isn't specific to you. That's more specific to my platform. It tells me what my platform has, or my broker, pardon me, has with respect to shortable shares. And this matters more for the small cap gappers and the more obscure stocks. I'm not going to have a problem finding shares to short on Apple, for example. There is, my broker has 383 million shares available for short on Apple. So I just want to see what the shortable percentage is, and that often gives you an indication, especially if there could be some sort of squeeze. But beside that is PE. So price to earnings. That's important for me, especially for the more mega cap names. I keep that there. The beta, also important if you're looking at, making comparisons between the instrument in question and the overall market move. That's basically the difference between what the equity is, or the instrument in question is doing relative to the overall market. The higher the beta, the more volatile. Okay? And then I have another column over here, change percentage after hours. This starts calculating from the closing bell. And so sometimes when I'm sitting at home and I'm doing, I'm doing my charting, or I'm doing any analysis after I've left here and I'm already at home, I want to see what the stock's done from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Is it up after hours? This one, not really that important as well for these bigger caps, but good for the small cap gappers, because the small cap gappers, as we've talked about, don't have a volatility halt parameter after 4 p.m. So I want to see how much potentially a small cap gapper has moved up after 4 p.m. when there's no volatility halt parameter. So that's an important column for me, and I keep that there. Next to that is the year-to-date percentage change, and you'll see everything in the red. But if you compared that to last year in 2023, almost everything was in the green. This tells me what the stock or the instrument in question has done year to date. Look at Apple. Apple's been getting shellacked in 2024. Apple's down 5.33% in 2024. And this is the column that's going to show me what the particular instrument has done year to date. Then next to that, two more columns here, the 52-week high and the 52-week low. I kind of want to know right away what the range for this particular instrument has been over the past year. And it's not going to give me year to date, it's going to give me 52 weeks. Always 1 year worth of range, not year to date, okay? So this is important for me as well. Like look at Apple, for example, or on the Apple example, Apple 52 weeks ago today was at $124.22. That was the 52-week low. The 52-week high, which is what we did, I think, either in July or this past December, $199.62. It wasn't able to break that $200 level. It came awfully close, 38 pennies, close, Adara. So those are the columns that I use. Before I go on and show you any more of the instruments that I have under every heading, I just want to show how it was laid out.
No, I think that's really cool, and I like as well that you can kind of arrange the order depending on kind of, I guess, what's moving then and what's moving in what day and what you're more interested in watching. I guess, too, I'm kind of curious, what does it take for a stock to kind of, I guess, enter the radar? Because there's some of these chip names like Marvell, we don't really hear about that much, NXPI. So I guess, what are you kind of looking for to add it?
That's really good. I mean, like, I've added it somewhere along the line. I felt like it was important to me, or like Marvell was always important for, I mean, initially I had it as a microchip for 5G. 5G was supposed to be one of the important themes of 2022. Didn't end up doing anything. 5G's kind of been dying off in importance, to be honest with you, as a technology. It's more like focused on AI. So I do a lot of spring cleaning, so to speak, on these watches. Okay. Yeah, you know, when something falls out in importance and I no longer follow it, I'll remove it. But for now, you know, I've just kind of kept it there. It really hasn't hurt me. But the microchip, good point that you bring up. My microchip watch list needs a little spring cleaning there because it's getting a little heavy at the bottom there, Adara. And it's you don't want too much, right? You want to focus on the most important stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, Marvell on there, NXPI, Pi, GFS, STM, all these other, you know, lesser known microchip semiconductor names.
Yeah, well, there are no small parts, only small actors. So I wasn't, not here judging. I was just curious as to why, kind of like the inclusions of certain ones. But I like that you kind of have it all organized by sector. Then I guess I have another question as well.
Yeah.
And because I know you, and I like that you addressed NVIDIA being a semiconductor and not part of the big tech. Is there a reason that you have Tesla and big tech and not EVs?
Oh, because it's like the Mag 7. I should really change it from big tech to Mag 7.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be like,
no,
I'm just curious.
If you have this question, other people likely have it as well, so I'm good to go on that end. But Tesla would make way more sense in EVs, except that I want my eye on Tesla at all times of the day.
That makes sense.
Right?
Sometimes the EVs are a little lower.
They are.
You don't need to look at Rivian every second of the day, but Tesla you might want.
Like I've got my screen maximized right now, dear, but that's not really how it looks on my side screen. Sometimes I can't see Tesla because I'm higher up looking at something else. But Tesla, I want my eye on. NVIDIA, I want my eye on at all times of the day. I want to see what the hell they're doing. And that's why I've kind of chosen to put it with big tech, even though there really should be Mag 7.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I think it's cool.
Yeah. So Tesla on there for that reason. Moving down though, guys, like I was saying, electric vehicles, I mean, there was way more stuff on here before, and I kind of removed it. Now, EVs, I gotta tell you, my EV watch list is kind of like more like clean energy / EV. And you'll see that because I include things like Plug Power and Bloom Energy and Fuel Cell, so F-Cell. So these ones, I should really recategorize the heading there more from EVs to clean energy / EVs, but you've got the Rivians, the Lucids, the Fiskars, the Polestars, the Nikolas, etc., all the stuff that you would expect to see. I've taken out some other, lesser known EVs like Workhorse, who have really fallen into, penny stock category. I've taken those off. Like I was just telling Adair, I do my spring cleaning every now and again on my watch list. Below that, Chinese ADRs. And there is the dreaded Li Auto hanging out there. So, even the Chinese EVs, I don't include in EV land. I include under Chinese ADRs. Because oftentimes, Adara, what we'll see is a headline, an economic headline coming out of China, and ADRs will move together. I feel there's more synergy between XPEV, Li, and NIO with Chinese ADRs than there is synergy between them and Rivian, Lucid, Fisker, or Polestar. So that's just kind of a personal decision that I've made there. Yeah. Under Chinese ADRs, you got the heavyweights. You got the Babas, the Babas. Shout out to Ian. We got Baidu, PDD, JD, XPEV, Li, NIO, obviously. And then one of my faves, you know this, BYD. Shout out to Jeff Mendel. These trade on the OTC. You have two BYDs on the OTC. You have BYDDY and BYDDF. Jeff Mendel has already explained to us what the difference is. Then you have some solar names, JKS and DQ, some Chinese solar names. I include that in ADR world, not in my solar category as well. Then you have the DDs, the Tencents, the, what's this one called again? NetEase, Futu, Bilibili, and then you have a bunch of other ones as well as some Chinese ADR ETFs, FXI and KWeb, those ones as well. Keep my eye on those. Next, this is Fabian's favorite category, cryptocurrency plays. Right there, right at the top there, I've got Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I want to see right away what the two cryptocurrency heavyweights are doing before I even look at the equities. What's BTC Bitstonk up to that day? What's Ethereum up to? What percentage increase are they? How much volume are they doing? Those are the two first entrance on my cryptocurrency watch list. Then you got some of the, the usual suspects, some micro strategies, Coinbase, Mara, Riot, CleanSpark. I just included CLSK as a recent entrant because somebody in the chat scolded us for not talking about CLSK as much as we talk about Mara and Riot. We have BITO, which is the Bitcoin Strat ETF, ETHE, which is Grayscale Ethereum Trust. And then you have GBTCs, the BTBT, Solo, some of the lesser known names towards the bottom of the list there. So crypto, keep my eye very much on that. Then the memes. What's a watch list without memes, baby? We got the GameStonks. We got AMC, the Carvanas, the VinFast, Adara's favorite stock.
You guys are always making fun of me for that one.
Wayfair, right? And then even, I should probably take this out because Bed Bath & Beyond is bankrupt, so that's gone. We have the... Palantir, the Katina Man's updating everybody on Palantir. Palantir is pumping up. Up? He's long 1630 on Palantir. So anybody keeping an eye on PLTR, be made aware there. But I also have to look at this trade, Adara, as we are pumping up here on QuantumScape nicely through that $8.40 level. There is some size though, guys, at 840 here on the book. So let's see whether or not we can clear that 840 area. If there's this much size, let's see if there's any hidden sellers also at 40. So just wet my beak through that at 839 there, getting 39 prints. Let's see if we can break through 40. But QuantumScape moving up nicely now, about 28.75%, almost 29% to the good. Here we go at 40 again. Can we eat through that size? Not yet anyway, so maybe we'll have to pack our patience. And then we'll also put some other beak wetters up here, Adara, at 48, because what is life without whimsy?
What is it indeed?
It really isn't. My man Zion Lala, let's take a little bit of a break here. Sharif, I can see the lawyer in him. He explains everything so much in details and very patiently. Love it. Love you, my man, but I've left that career behind, don't know anything about it anymore, and I am all in on this game. But thank you for the kind words, Zion. You're a true OG. Anything to add, Adara, before I go on?
Yeah, I mean, I also just an update, just hanging out in Eli Lilly. We're about 50 cents out for my point of entry. If I can get out, I've been, we know me, I'm watching the tape. 630 is my goal, 75 cents, so obviously very small profit. But like I said, I'm just kind of trying to get into the habit of feeling comfortable in positions and getting out when I feel less comfortable.
Ma'am.
Also, I do have another question.
Yeah,
about
absolutely. Go for it.
This, if we don't mind. So I think my, I don't. Okay.
Sure, let it come.
So
yeah.
I think what's interesting too is I guess it's less a question, more kind of an observation or talking point.
Yep.
I think it's interesting how I like that you said like you don't include, because I would have asked about that. The Chinese EVs aren't considered with EVs; they're considered with
ADRs.
Yeah, ADRs. So I think that's interesting too, because I think that also explains NVIDIA being in the chips, because I find NVIDIA will kind of move with chip catalysts
Bang.
too, right?
Bang.
So I think that's an interesting kind of way of looking at it. Is like if something falls into two categories, choosing the category with which it makes the most sense. Because I think you could argue too, some of these Bitcoin names are sort of tech adjacent, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So I like that that there is also kind of, I guess and I mean it's your watch list, right? So you're going to decide on your own. But I like that you have kind of your parameters.
Yeah.
I think for anybody building a watch list, I think it's a good reminder, like, whatever works for you, right? Like you want to see Tesla all the time, so it's a mega cap. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
And exactly, I like what you focused on there. What works for you? I mean, you have it the way, as long as it is floating your boat and you are good to go, have it whatever way you want. I'm just making a suggestion to everybody here. I hope really what I'm adding is just some ideas with respect to data points with which to add in some instrument names that you may not have included in your own watch list. I hope to shed some light on what I keep my eye on there. Next, now below memes. And by the way, I told you yesterday, this show was called Memes and Movers. Remember that, Katina Man? When it was called Memes and Movers, and we've since changed that to the midday. Now it's called Learn to Trade, this, that, and the other. We just wanted to mention, because we're talking about memes. All right, Fabian, let's go back into the screen. Cloud computing and IT security. How big of a name was this in 2023? We saw what CRM did. CrowdStrike just had a big earnings report, and they did very well. And IT security, you guys know, the more we advance and the more there competition between East and West, there's going to be more need for IT security. And now we see all the hackers taking casinos ransom and stuff like that. So this is going to be one of those sectors that does very well. Under that, I have a bit of a mixed bag, right? I put cloud computing and IT security together. CRM, Salesforce on there, CrowdStrike obviously, Zscaler, very important for me, Cisco, Snowflake, Palo Alto Networks, and then Aritzia Networks, which doesn't do all that much. AI, C3 AI, I'm talking about the best ticker in the game, but nobody has any idea what this company does. Domo and Okta, I'm just being tongue-facetious about that. We know what they're doing. Okta, those are the names that go under my cloud computing and IT security watch list. Below that, fintech. How strong have Affirm and Upstart been last year? We'll see what they do this year. Upstart's down already almost 14%, and Affirm is down 10% year to date. So we'll see if they have the kind of 2024 that they had in 2023. But here's what's on my fintech and DeFi, decentralized finance. That's why I put those two together. You have Affirm. You have Upstart, PayPal, Square, SoFi, Melli. Melli's a big, I think it's a bank in South America. Visa, and then you have Global Payments. That's another huge one. Sea Limited. Remember when this one shot up last year? And then you got the Hood, the WonderFi. Shout out to Mr. Wonderful there, as well as some other Tiger fintech holding, as well as G-Dot, which is Green Dot. So those are the fintech plays that I keep my eye on. Then marijuana, very important name for marijuana there the other day, yesterday, especially with that headline coming in from the DEA that they possibly will be removing weed from Schedule 1 to 3. They basically updated us yesterday and said that they were in the midst of doing that, or they were reviewing. So under weed, we have Grow Generations, GRWG, Tilray, Cron, CRON, Aurora Cannabis. Under ECB, we have Evogen, EVGN. Let's take out this stupid one over here. And then we have the two ETFs, the MSOS and the MSOX. The MSOX, by the way, is the 2 times of the MSOS. So keep your eye on that. Don't confuse them. Cureleaf and CGC are the other 2 entrants on my marijuana watches. Anything to add, Adair?
Yeah, no, again, I think it's, I have a question actually, Story. So if you go up, I think some of the names, there's like those, or I guess it's just what you're clicking over.
Where am
so
I
I figure what
looking?
that arrow was.
Which
but
one?
It's just
This
when
one?
you, yeah,
Oh, this
when you
pops
curse
up or
over
something.
it.
Yeah,
no, I wasn't
That's
sure.
not important.
I didn't know if that was
No
like
worries.
specific to. But yeah, no, I think again, like it's cool that you have the ETFs as well, right?
I'm
So then
going to
that
get
kind
to
of
those,
gives you-
yeah. Well, I have
okay.
an entire ETFs watch list. We're going to get to that in a second.
Because I
But
was
we'll not.
thinking MSOX and the MSOS and also the FXI for the Chinese ADRs,
Right,
but it's cool
and
you also
K-Web,
have the ETF, a whole separate ETF list. That's
Yes,
very
I
cool.
do. Yeah. I have an entire ETF list just so that if I can see quickly what sector is moving. So by going to the ETF watch list, so say I'll also show you in a second, but if the one is green and it's green like much more than I would anticipate, like say 5% up for K-Web, I'll know the Chinese ADRs are pumping that day. I don't even need to look at the watch list. It's that one entry that tells me be aware of this sector. And or if it's down on the day too, same thing, right? Works both ways.
Makes
All right,
sense.
pharma and biotech. I include these bad boys together. Again, no particular order here. Moderna, mRNA, followed by Pfizer. And then Regeneron. Remember Regeneron from the COVID days? This thing was supposed to give people like a boost or something like that. Johnson & Johnson, Adara's absolutely favorite stock, Eli Lilly. Who has a catalyst, by the way, today. They're doing direct-to-consumer stuff, which is margin inflating, which is good, by the way. We have the Amgens. We have the AbbVie's, Adara. The Novo Nordisk. I know you're all about that.
Oh, yeah.
We have the Merck, as well as Novartis, Gilead, AstraZeneca, GlaxoSmithKline. You got all the usual suspects for pharma. Now, I don't typically include the small cap gappers on my pharma, biotech. I want the big boys. I want the behemoths. So I'll just,
I like that.
Right. Nary do I ever keep a small cap gapper on my watches. But here we go. QuantumScape is now knocking on the door of $8.50, and looks like we're gonna wet our beak here with another little profit taker. We're almost 30% now on QuantumScape as this one continues to pump up on the news that they are making some sort of business deal with Volkswagen. We'll have to see how this one actually pans out in real life, Adara. But QuantumScape, a rocket ship on the day.
Yeah, that chart is a really good look.
Yes.
Also, so IK is asking here in the chat about an entry on Lilly. I'll look at the chart. I got out of this one, like I said, at that 630, which I liked because that was an area we kept kind of like wicking towards. And so I was like, I want to get out here. My initial plan was probably something around that 632 because I liked that was where we kind of had sellers overwhelming buyers. So I was like, if we can get to that point, it'd be interesting. But generally, though, Eli Lilly has not made a lower low, which I do like. So, I mean, I can't, I'm not going to go give financial advice, of course, but I will say that this, I like the idea of a 628 area for Eli Lilly. That would have been my stop if we had gone below 628, which, as you can see, we kind of got a wick near there, but we did not break below 628. So I like 628 as an area of support for Eli Lilly. I'll put it that way, just looking at the chart. That seems to be a pretty good area, because also, look, it was pre-market resistance. So resistance turning into support in Eli Lilly at the 628. Right?
I love when
it's so
that's
clean, and it's happened twice now.
Yeah.
So I do think 628 is an interesting area in terms of areas that I have my eye on for Eli Lilly.
But technical analysis is fugazi, right?
That's
you can
yeah.
It can flip and be support and resistance, but TA is BS.
That,
right?
I like that. Yeah, I'm not saying it's 100%, right? But
Yeah.
of course, with a name like this that does have a strong catalyst, we're up 2% in the day. I would just say that's a level I'm watching. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
Did you
628.
hear the Chilean nightmare?
I did not.
He's like, it's astrology. Right? No offense to
market
anyone.
astrology.
I like astrology. I'm not
Yeah.
hating on astrology. We're just making
Yeah,
jokes.
no, for sure. I do like. I also have another question actually.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
regards
yeah,
to,
yeah, of course.
Your I guess well,
Is
all
it
of them, but also the pharma.
QuantumScape related or Watchlist?
It's related to the watch list.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So, because I was kind of thinking with regards to Eli Lilly, which is not always seen as a day trade stock, contrary to
ma'am.
how much I day trade it. But I guess, like, you know, these names like Eli Lilly and Regeneron, like, I guess these non-considered, I guess, day trading names.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have a separate watch list for day trade and
I
for swing
don't.
stocks? Because
No.
I was just wondering, because I know stuff like Broadcom as well, like not really. So I was just curious
That's
about that.
very good question. So what I do, Adara, is I'll do like a cursory view of the watch list to see if there's anything really up unusual amounts. So, you know, when you peruse this watch list every day on the year, and you've been doing it for 4 years, you know when something's standing out.
Yeah.
If I look at my pharma and I see Moderna up double digits, I know something's up. Moderna's not typically up double digits. So when I look for something to see what it's moving, I'm looking at the change percentage or the change percentage since open. Right away, that gets my attention.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking. I keep all these names so that I can go through them without having to type each an individual name. What's going on, Katina Man? Tesla long, Katina Man is long. Tesla price, please. 241.25. He's holding this one north as we do the dance here near high of days on the NQ. So great move, Katina Man. I hope you print and continue to print. Anybody following along with the Katina Man's trade, he is now long TSLA. Okay. He's getting lighter on Palantir because it's having trouble breaking the 50-cent area. So anybody following along with the Katina Man's Palantir trade, just wanted to update you on that. Okay, let's have a look quick here at QuantumScape. All right, so we did break 50s on QS here. Now, I really don't know where the top is on QuantumScape, so it behooves me to go ahead and do some charting here, Adair. Let's bring in the side charts and have a look at QS, which I've programmed to be over here. All right, so QuantumScape, the rocket that it is, this is the daily look today on QuantumScape, but let's look at where we could encounter resistance on the day. So we're already at 850. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that this trough over here taking us back to mid-July, Adara, at that $9.50 area looks awfully interesting. Now, we have a bit of a conflicting position here where you have the wicks at $9, but the closing prints all at that $9.50 area. So I'm thinking this is an awfully good area to have as a target, not maybe for the whole position, but for at least the piece for the dream type thing. So I'm thinking here, this $9.50, $9.25, let's say between $9 to $9.50 is a good exit area for QuantumScape. Obviously, we're gonna have to continue to pump through the 852 high that we have on the day, but I'm looking here. I think this is a very reasonable amount for us to move intraday on QuantumScape, given I don't even know what the short float is on this bad boy. I'm pretty sure it's pretty high. So I'm gonna look, let's bring in Trade Idea. Shout out to the NOS boss and his crew who was kind enough to come on yesterday and tell us a little bit about his swing trading techniques. So according to Trade Ideas, Adara, QuantumScape has a 16.75% short float. The float is around 350 million. About 16.75% of that float is shorted. So good possible squeeze potential, really depending on where the shorts are hanging out. But to repeat, I'm looking for 9 to 950 on QS on the day.
Yeah. I like that support area too of that.
Oh, let me bring it back.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just so I can, because I.
Where are you looking?
On the.
On the daily?
Yeah, on the daily.
Okay.
I like that we had that 8, is that 850? No, that's
850
650. That's 650 support.
650, yeah, oh yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adara's talking about this area here, how we based out. All the dips at 650 were bought up, going back into mid-December and even prior to that. Yeah, good eye on that, Adara.
Yeah.
So QuantumScape, new high of day on QuantumScape as this bad boy now is pumping into the 855 area. Let's wet our beak, because that's what we do around here on QS. It is pumping up new high days. These ones are coming in. They're coming in fast. They're coming in furious here on QuantumScape. So, yeah, be made aware there's a lot of size here on the book here on the ask, whether it's at 59s or 60s, some resistance coming up here, but I'm seeing a lot of orange and green on my tape, which means above the ask or at the ask. There we go. We're a new high days again. Now what's the high date? 863. 860. Yeah, I was about to say 864, but it's 863. Good move up on QS now, up 33%. All right.
Yeah, taking a quantum leap to the upside.
How did we know? How did we know? Did you hit that? Yeah, you did. The Chilean number is all over that. I love it. Jay Lee, Sharif, my nat gas swing is shaping up decently now. Boyle over 33, was buying mid-20s. Shout out to you, Jay Lee. You know, I lost $1.25 on my UNG trade, but, you know, can you do about that? So, all right, guys, let's move down. Pharma and biotech we got through. Social media, like I have RBLX, Pins, and Snap. These aren't typically names that I'm really too interested in, although Fabian, I should really be more into Snap lately, as you know, we've been talking about this, and I'm sure the Katina has been talking about it as well. Snap is an interesting buyout target. I'm going to continue to believe that until you know, something changes my mind. But yeah, maybe I should move up Snap here and see what it's been up to. Up 2.5% today, outperforming the market, no question about that. Below that are battery plays. You have the likes of LITT, which is Global Lithium Battery. You have BAT, which is Amplify. QuantumScape, there's QuantumScape. And then this CATL, looks like that's gone. We'll remove that.
Doing some spring cleaning live, yeah.
Yeah, why not, right? EV charging, you got your charge points, you got your Blink, you got your EV Go. These were really 2020, 21 names that have been, you know, demoted in priority, that don't move that much anymore. ChargePoint, I'm going to continue to believe ChargePoint and Blink charging are in trouble, given what Tesla is doing with its supercharging network. So these might not be on here for much longer. EV charging and the other one. This one got absolutely shellacked last year, solar. Anybody who looked at what solar was doing last year, you guys know what I'm talking about. Solar Edge was removed out of the S&P 500. Everything else in that category was red on the year, and it's not doing much better this year. You can see the year-to-date column. Solar Edge is already down 10.33% on the year. Enphase, shout out to Reliable Rudy, I haven't seen him in the chat in a bit, is already down 10% on the year. First Solar, not so bad, too, almost 3% here. So those are the names. Solar Edge, Enphase, First Solar. TAN is the ETF, the solar ETF. CSIQ is Canadian Solar. I held that for a nice swing trade. Shout out to Alfred, who got me in that boy. You have Sunrun, which is RUN, Nova, which is Sonova Energy, SunPower, SPWR, and then you have some lesser known names, SOL, Sundub, and Pola. Those are all on my solar watch list. Below that, you have 5G, streaming, and then retailers. You got the likes of Lulu, Dick's, TJX Shop, Macy's, Nordstrom, and Beyond. Well, that shouldn't be on there. Remove that. That's probably a wrong entry. Retailers. These aren't names that I typically really care about, retailers or streaming plays. So, well, I should care about Disney, I gotta tell you the truth. I should probably move Disney up in the watch list. It's way too low here for me to be able to keep tabs on it. But anyway, that is my watch list for what I would call the growth stocks. Now, that's not accurate anymore. They're not categorized between growth and value, but that's originally how I had them broken down. I just haven't changed that. So we'll get to that, the value aspect of it in a second, but we're gonna look back here on QuantumScape that continues to pump to the high side, $8.65 now, high a day. This one continues to pump, Adara.
Yeah, no, I think really good look on Quantum. Yeah, Eric Lenovo was just saying before you check that, tell Sharif his rocket ship may explode soon. Yeah, I mean, like he called it there, Eric. Yeah, making a nice little move to the upside. QS has been strong all day too. Like when I was, you know, back to kind of scanners, when I was at the big desk, like trade ideas kept popping up. QS. So
it was popping up?
Oh yeah, like this one was popping up earlier today on volume. Yeah, and I mean, like look at this one.
Yes,
like,
ma'am.
Very, very good look there on QuantumScape. I'm looking at NVIDIA. I think it was Zion Lala in the chat asking me, like, you know, you're looking at NVIDIA, and I said, I mean, like, I didn't respond in the chat. I'm always looking at NVIDIA, I have to say, but like, I have a whole thing, and I've said this before, I get nervous getting into things when they're near their high of day or at their high of day for long, and then with short if they're at the low of day, because I like levels, and I'm more of a range trader, right? I can say that. And so if we have more of a dip and it comes at a higher low, like what we had here around 11:30, I'd be interested. I unfortunately did miss this 11:30 dip. So I'm gonna hope we can get another dip here in NVIDIA. Up 181.87 on the, I almost said 187, which no. It's definitely up on the day. So if I can.
Did you say the day?
I did.
That's fantastic.
So if I can take advantage of this move to the upside in NVIDIA and this chip strength, I like this. I also want to check Intel, because I know this one was moving with Mobileye to the downside earlier, but we also had a price target increase. Yeah, Intel has actually been ranging in the last little bit, which is interesting to me, but not a huge range, not a lot of opportunities. You know what I mean? Like kind of this 46.83 to about 47. So you took it with a decent amount of shares, perhaps. But I like my whole thing lately has been small share size and really specific scalps, just to kind of get more confident and get into the practice of, you know, getting in and out of stocks, right? I feel very lucky to be in the sim, and I want to make sure I'm taking advantage of that and learning and growing.
How wise of you.
Trader.
How Capricorn of you.
Oh, thanks.
Because Capricorns are supposed to be wise. I've told you that before.
Yeah, no, I mean, Capricorns are also a little stubborn.
Are they?
Why, yeah.
Ah, yes,
so
yes,
that's
the
why
sheep.
I'm trying to not be too stubborn. Yeah, we're goats. Button heads, right? So I'm trying to make sure I'm not too stubborn with my trading and kind of open to growing. And I find the way I've had the most success is just the scalpulating and just kind of, if I feel, depending on, like having a plan going into the trade, but being able to adapt that plan if the stock presents something a little different, right? Also, I have a question about the watch list.
Let me bring you back in. You're good to go, Fabian. Yeah.
I guess my question is, with what you do with the watch list here is how do you decide when not a sector, but like I guess a subcategory becomes needed to be added to the watch list, like retailers
Very good question.
You know, social media.
Completely at random. No. To be fair, it's not really at random. It's, you know, what I've just, what I've had an opportunity to do so far. For example, I don't have an airlines one or airplanes. Like I don't have the Boeings.
Cruise.
Or no, I do have a cruise lines. I'll get to that in a second. But I'm not talking about airlines. I'm talking about aerospace. That's probably what I should have said. I don't have a Boeing, a Spirit Aerosystems, all the subcontract. I don't have a military one. You know, like I'm missing certain sectors. That's just a fact. But I try to cover the ones that interest me and the ones that I feel move the most. Let's get to that next watch list, what I termed value, which is not value at all. Energy on there. Energy, I mean, if you've been in the stock market for more than, I guess, 20 years, you know how important the energy sector was in the 90s and the early 2000s. It was kind of like tech, right? Where you could just make a ton of money on energy names. Not the case anymore for you know, obvious reasons. We have the ESG movement. We got the move away from fossil fuels into renewables. There's a whole bunch of reasons here, guys. But that doesn't make it any less important. Well, it makes it less important, but it doesn't make it, you know, not qualifiable for the watch list. Let's look at what I got. So the first thing that I have is the futures contract for oil. I know that I put that in the market one as well, but I want it in energy in case I'm looking at energy. Below that, you're going to have some of the major names. You're going to have the XOMs, the ExxonMobils. You're going to have the Chevrons, the Occidentals, the Devon Energies, Range Resources. You're going to have Fang, Diamondback Energy. And then you're going to have the less obvious names, the Schlumberger, Suncor, the ones that, you know, are big companies but not really traded all that much. You have Marathon Petroleum, the EOG, and then these ones are, you know, less known. Let me just spread this out a little bit because they're too condensed beside each other and they're going to be hard to see on camera. Just expanding some of the columns, guys, so that you're able to see it. The PE, the beta, the after hours, the year to date and stuff like that, all the stuff that we talked about, it repeats on this watch list just like the previous one. Just got to expand them. There we go. So these ones, and then obviously Shell, BP, these are not British Petroleum stocks that we don't trade that often, and they don't do that much volume on the day, but I want to include in the list nonetheless. Below that, airlines. Yeah, it's been a very, you know, here's a joke. How does a billionaire become a millionaire? A billionaire become a millionaire.
Investing in airlines?
Yeah, how did you know that? You knew this joke already,
No,
didn't you?
I didn't.
You did it?
No, I was trying to guess in the context of airlines. I know airlines have been weak, so I was trying to use, you know.
So you knew it then. All right, that's cool. The Chilean Nightmare is just getting some food, so we're going to be stuck on this screen for a little bit. Guys, airlines, AAPL, Delta, so American Airlines, Delta, United, Southwest, Spirit, Hawaiian, Alaskan. You know Hawaiian and Alaskan, there's a possible merger there. Shout out to Lena Khan. Let something go through for once. We got the JetBlue. You got the SkyWest, and then you have the Jets ETF. I keep that bad boy on there just to kind of get a sense of what the entire sector is doing. That is what I have under my airlines. And below that, like Adara alluded to, cruise lines. You got the CCL, the RCL, the NCLH, and I don't even know what this one is, LIND. Lindblad Expeditions. Okay, so somewhere along the line, I decided I was going to add LIND to the list, even though it's done 40,000 shares today. Compare that to the 15.7 million that CCL has done. Banking. How important is banking, guys, especially this year? Now, I already told you, I was telling the Katina man, I am now in XLF. I am going to be, you know, trying to weasel my way into financials this year as interest rates come down. Mortgage demand is expected to go up because, well, rates have been elevated for a long time, and people, you know, they decided not to get out of their low interest mortgage and take on a higher rate one. As rates come down, people will be more enticed into, you know, buying that house because the 30-year fixed in the States won't be at 8%. Hopefully, it will be something a little bit more reasonable. So I'm keeping my eye on banking this year. And under that watch list, we have the king of the banking stocks, I guess you could call that. JP Morgan Chase, number one on my list. Schwab, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citi, Morgan Stanley. You got the Barclays, the Wells Fargos. This one is not that important. These are some Canadian banks, Bank of Montreal, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. You have US Bank Corp as well. That's an American one. Bank of Nova Scotia, Toronto Dominion. You guys in the States will know that as TD Bank, even though the TD stands for Toronto Dominion. And then Royal Bank of Canada, RY. A lot of the eastern United States, especially in the South, Carolinas and stuff like that. Yes, sir? Okay. Carolinas, you'll see some of the royal banks there. So that is my banking sector. Below that, I have what I call consumer defensive. Now, you could really categorize these as retailers, but I have them mixed in with some other names, so that I didn't want to call them retailers. Consumer defensive. You got the Targets, you got the Costcos, the Walmarts, the Kohl's. And then here's why I didn't call it retail, because then you have the Colgates and the Unilevers, right? And the Procter & Gamble's, the Dollar Generals. So it's a bit of a mix between retailers and manufacturers, or at least distributors. What I was looking for here was during times of high inflation in 2021 and 2022, I wanted to see if this sector outperformed. Because as people got away from consumer discretionary and they started spending on consumer defensive, I wanted to see if these guys would benefit. And as you can see, Costco, very close to all-time highs, $645. Walmart was also near all-time highs before it sold off in the 160s. So they have benefited from higher inflation. I'm talking about the Costco's and the Walmarts. Obviously, Target had a bad year last year because of the glut of inventory, but that's neither here nor there. Then below that is Nat Gas. I want to keep my eye on what Nat Gas is doing, even though I got shellacked on the UNG trade. So the first entrant there is the Nat Gas futures contract. That's the I believe it's a Henry Hub natural gas futures contract. And then you have the UNGs, the Boyles, the LNGs, shout out to Jay Lee, and some other more obscure Nat Gas names, but I have Nat Gas on its own little watches. Then the uraniums. This is kind of the thing that I really regret the most, not having invested in a uranium name, whether it was an ETF or whether it was an equity. Uranium has been very strong as of late, and the reason for that is the expansion of a new technology called SMRs, small modular reactors. The province where we live here, Ontario, similar to state down south, is really going to town with expanding small modular reactors, especially in the more rural neighborhoods. And the benefit of this type of nuclear reactor is it's not like the nuclear reactor that you see in the Simpsons with that huge chimney stack and, you know, it's like that big boiler room. No, these are like small essentially tube-looking modules that you can expand. So if you have a small city, you start off with a few of these, and as the city grows or your town grows, you add more of them as your energy demand goes up, which makes eminent sense for a society that's kind of weaning itself off fossil fuels and looking for renewables and the charging infrastructure that has to come with that. We've heard so many times about the amount of power required for these EVs to charge. If everybody's going to have an EV, it's going to be way above the amount of power that we currently have. And this technology helps you scale that. So you start initially small, and then you can get bigger and bigger and bigger. Small modular reactors, that's what it is. And uranium is the radioactive material that they are using. I'm pretty sure they're not using plutonium or anything else. Uranium, I have an entire section there for uranium. I have some mining stuff as well. We have Vale, as well as MP materials, and then SSR mining. And then below that is infrastructure. You have the Caterpillars, the DE Deere, as well as some other infrastructure names. Really, Caterpillar and Deere are the only two that interest me there. So I just want to kind of look over that. I think it's beneficial that you guys see what I'm looking at every day there.
Yeah, no, I think that's really neat, and I appreciated you kind of going over that sorry, that watch list there. I like too that it's like it's not really organized in like short term, long term, but I like that you do have a place for those more value stocks aren't really going to move as much intraday. But it does make sense that you have like all the mega caps on that screen that you're looking at every day, right? Like the point I'm trying to make is I think, as I said earlier, I think what's cool about the whole watch list concept is it's going to be different for every person. And it's, of course, like what I find interesting too is it's very different from the watch list, that I'm making every morning for Trader TV, because those are, a bit more of the stocks that we do kind of want to see moving daily, right? But everyone's going to have their own list of value to them. The stuff that I'm looking at every day is not going to be the same stuff necessarily that Sharif's looking at every day, though there might be some overlap, right? So I think it's kind of a very cool concept. I think something I'm looking forward to learning more about, and I hope other people who are new as well to trading got a little bit out of this as well. And that reminds me too, there's that poll earlier in the chat as well put up there, what's your experience level with trading? I think kind of cool as well, because as a stream that's a little bit more about learning, and as someone who I feel like I'm hopefully trying to learn every day from Sharif, Sean, Neil, Brendan, Obi, everybody on the floor and everybody in the chat. I think very cool poll there, very cool experience as well. Also, I got a little teeny tiny NVIDIA trade going here. I say small because, like I said, I'm practicing just small share size, getting in when I feel confident. I was watching the tape. I liked the idea of slightly higher low here on NVIDIA. I'm out. I really teeny tiny like kind of risk parameter here. I'm getting out if we get decisively below that 482.70, and I say that because that would be a lower low. So I know it's a little bit of a tighter risk parameter, but like I said, just kind of practicing, getting confident, feeling cool, getting in and out of trades.
That is what you want. I'm talking to the Chilean nightmare.
Oh, okay.
He's in my ear. He's like, the watch list, there's so many columns. How do you pick? Really, Fabian, to be honest with you, it's really about what your trading style is going to be. I mean, what you want to see may not be what I want to see. So I think just play around with it, because Fabian just recently got the same broker that I have, and he's been trying to set up his platform, and there's just, I know, the feeling that you're going through, so many options, it's kind of overwhelming. At least it was for me initially. So guys, QuantumScape is an absolute rocket on the day. We are now at 34%. I just got another beak wetter there at 69s. Nice. And I have another little beak wetter there at 74s, just in front of $0.75. Neil made me laugh.
It's all Neil's fault.
Right? Yeah, so looking for another beak wetter on QuantumScape at $8.74. We'll see if it bamboozles its way up there, but awfully strong is QuantumScape on the day. I'm going to continue to pack my patience and wait for that possible 9 to 950 area that we talked about, because I really feel that it could make its way up there. At least that is the resistance level that I see on the daily going back into July. All right, let's take some comments here from the chat. AK Sharif, can you export share your watch? I don't know how to do that, brother, but I'm pretty sure that you can kind of figure something out with that. Pause the stream. That's a beautiful thing about YouTube. Pause it, and then you can possibly see what I had. I'm sure if you increase the resolution to 1080p or something, you can see everything that I've got. And I'm not done. I'm still going to show you my ETFs watch list in a second. I don't know if I can do that. I'll look to see if I can. If I can, I will make it available some way, somehow. Zenod, Sharif, I've been looking for an ETF that represents nuclear tech that isn't just uranium stocks. Well, I'm not the guy to ask about that. I got to tell you the truth. Sorry? Okay, so the Neil will be joining us right now. He's going to be at his desk. And Neil is going to be taking us through what everyone knows already is his morning mix. And that is how he finds his stocks every day. And here he is the first person in here every single morning. And he's got his trusty iPad where I know he keeps his ideas on. Neil, what's up, sir?
Thank you very much for that, Sharif. So we've talked about our more routines before, but I've never really gone in depth as to like the step-by-step, like what I'm doing every single morning. And I decided to get in character. Anybody who's been watching for a while probably knows when we're on the show, I don't really wear my blue light glasses. They're just like a non-branded pair. But when I'm off camera and I'm looking at screens and I'm staring at them, I put them on. So when I sit down at my desk in the morning, I'm always going to have them on. At lunchtime, I'm going to have them on here for you guys. So, I've always been a bit of an early riser. So there's a part of the day that happens before I get into the office. Now, when I was in high school, I wake up before 6 o'clock and go to morning basketball. Sometimes I'd even do studying and that kind of stuff in the morning. And when I started trading, it was my career, I was pretty much the same thing. I tended to want to look at more before the market opened, fresh in the morning, than what I wanted to do in the evenings. It doesn't mean that I don't look at charts in the evenings, probably the most heavily on, say, a Sunday going into the week, but the vast majority of my pouring through data and charts is done in the morning. So I do get an early start. I'm up at 4:30 every single morning. Some of that is for the show. Before we did the show, I was up at about 5:30. I just want to make sure I can get in, do that prep. If something happens with my train, I'm still not going to be late. Always want to be here, make sure we have a good show for everybody and not miss any days, because that's what we're all about. So when I wake up, I'm not one of those people that the first thing I do is check my phone for emails. I'll do my, have a shower, all that kind of good stuff. And then almost immediately after that, I'm checking on my phone for big news headlines. So I'll have a couple of places that I like to go, whether it's CNBC, I'll go to investing.com, just multiple sites, and I want to know are there any big headlines that I need to read up on when I'm on my train ride home. I'm not going over charts and levels at that point. I just want to get an overview in the market. I might go to one of the sites that I actually like, which if I can quickly show it here. We're not affiliated with investing.com or anything like that, but I do like to jump to this site when I'm coming in. If we can we come to my screen for a second here, Fabian? No worries. So one of the things I like, and investing.com just provides you with a couple of things that are worth looking at before I've even gotten into the office. Like I want to know in advance, okay, well, were there any economic numbers overnight that I care about? Were there any, I'm talking about in Europe and in Asia, are there any economic numbers that are coming up in the pre-market? What's dropping at 8:30? And it's not to say that it's going to change my day. I just don't want to be thinking about those 20 minutes before I come onto air. I want to know that they're coming up and at least have some kind of a thought about it. So I'm doing all of that before I'm even out the door. And that's just the absolute basics. The other thing that I will do is if there's anything moving in the pre-market, I'll check out a couple of pre-market scanners for percentage and volume. It has to be doing outsized volume for it to matter. I'm usually on the front page of any place or CNBC or here. I'm generally going to get the bigger overnight moves. I read a couple of articles to make sure that I'm getting those notes. But that's like the early prep. The real nuts and bolts of trading is when you get into the office and you sit down. Now, once I've logged into my trading platform, the first thing I do outside of putting the show live and then opening up the chat and all that stuff and getting the YouTube stuff out of the way is I go back to my iPad, which I'm going to quickly show you this way. I don't know how well this is going to show, Fabian, but my iPad, it is a really old iPad, and Sean mocks me about it because it's really, really slow. But the only thing I keep on here is I have a quote board, and I'll show you that in a second. Sean's not here to mock me, but he does laugh, and it is old and slow. But I just keep down my personal short list, watch list of stocks. Now you'll notice some of those names, I don't know if it's really hard to see there. Some of the names are going to, like just tickers, some of them have one number next to it, no number next to it, multiple numbers next to it. Now for the code for me is if it's on that watch list, it's a stock that I am anticipating in my regular rotation of trading. Meaning I will 100% look at that symbol, see what it's doing, and see what I like. If I see something that's a key level, I put the key level on there or make one note about it. If it's in play, it'll always have multiple levels on it or a note, short float, just a 1 or 2 words as to why it's moving, something along those lines. If it has one number next to it, I might not trade it that day. However, if let's say $100 on Chevron or something like that is a key level, or XOM, that's better. If that's a big level that I put there and it doesn't trade off that level and the next day it's still in play but there's no catalyst, I'll just leave that in there knowing that it's a stock I'm watching and checking out every day, but I'm not adding additional notes to it. It's not actionable on that day. If it's there and I have no notes for a couple of days, sometimes I'll take it off the list. That happens all the time. I recently removed Uber from the list. I might actually put it back on today. And that's where I start. I go over that iPad and my regular stocks just to make sure I have that list down. You'll see me adding names in the afternoon as well. I'll put them at the bottom that I know I want to check them out. And so once I've added something back into the list, then I want to jump into what am I looking for in that particular stock. I'm not going to go to every single one. I'll just jump right on over to the one that's been in play for a couple of days. I'll give you an example with Apple. So once I know that I'm looking at Apple, the very first thing I'm going to do, I do this every single day, is every stock on that list, I pull up my trade ideas. I'm also going to have my Benzinga up. I want to make sure on Benzinga whether or not there's a news story. If there's a news story, I'm going to read it so I have the bare bones. I'm going to refresh my memory, if I need to, on the basics of the stock. If it's a low float name, I want to remind myself what it is. That's not the case with Apple. If a short float is in play, I want to remind myself of what that might be. That's not necessarily the case with Apple either. If they're reporting soon, I want to know did they report already? Are earnings coming up? Is there something I need to be concerned about in the short term? That's the next sort of step that I want to do with any kind of a name. And those are all things that I can check out here in this little details and profile that my layout has for trade ideas. And from that point, the next thing that happens is I don't go to my 3-minute chart or my 5-minute chart. I go out to my weekly chart and I remind myself the overall trend of the stock. There's nothing crazy about this. What is going on with Apple? I remember that it's at a double top, a major double top that it is pulling back off of. The first major moving average sits underneath 180. I know that there's a 175, 176 on the weekly chart. So I have that marked, but it's nowhere that close today. So I'll move from this chart. And if I find a key price level, like when this is bouncing off the weekly on the 200 period, then I'm going to mark that off as a big deal at the time that it happens. Now, if we get down and I look at this chart and I see it's there, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down 175, 176. And then that just goes in as an anecdote. I'll put 50 period or 200 period moving average on the weekly, like a 50 and then a W for the weekly. And then I jump to the lower time frame chart, which is just in my picture-in-picture in here with trade ideas, to the daily chart. And then I go to find significant price levels on the daily chart. I observe the same overall trend or retracement from 200. It's underneath the 50 period on the daily, so I'm bearish back into the 200 period. That's why we've been looking short on the daily for a while. So I remind myself that that's the case. I remind myself of some key levels. Overhead resistance starts at 187 on a bigger time frame, and then 180. So those are the levels I really like intraday. You heard us say 180 multiple times in the morning show. And we probably said 180 between myself, Sean, Sharif, Brendan, everybody, like a million times. But every day I'm reminding myself of this by going through this individual chart. And I do this for all of the names on my list. After that, the next thing I'm going to do is just go right to my other time frame, which is typically the 15-minute. So I like a 15-minute chart to find levels. I have it on Trade Ideas. I can also show it to you here on pPro8, our trading platform. And then I remind myself of what is the actual setup I'm looking for, because I look for entries on the daily on our 15-minute chart. So the next thing I'm doing here, and I don't have any lines in the chart for a reason, I usually will put them in. We've already broken down past 190. I told you that. The key levels on the daily were 187 and 180. So underneath 187 to 180, thinking short into 180. So what was the setup that worked the day before? I look at open, pop into that 187 level and a drop. And then the next day, pop into previous close and then a drop. So immediately, I know I want a short if it goes into the previous close, because that's what worked the day before. So I ask myself, what is the other key level? I'm going to mark off the previous close like this. I've got my line right there just above the 184. It's 184.25 on Apple. So that's one line that I like. But I also like this double bottom. You've got a low underneath that close. You had another bottom underneath that close. And then when I sit down, generally speaking, I'm getting in here at about 645 or so, but as I'm sitting down, it's holding underneath those bottoms. So I'm observing it hold underneath those lows that entire time. So I then mark off this as well, 183 and a half. So I know that I have two levels off the open that I'm looking to continue the trend to the south side on the trade. And that's how I set up that stock. The next thing I'll do is, we had earnings on Walgreens, Boots Alliance. I will go to that stock and do the exact same thing. I will go to Tesla and I will go through the exact same process. Amazon, pretty much like every single name that I'm expecting to look at, I'm going to go down the line. Now, one thing to keep in mind here though, when you're preparing something like this, you always want to find a way to whittle down from, I've got 10 to 12 things that I really, really, really like, to I've got 3 to 5 things that I really, really like. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but one of the things that does matter, and you'll see on my chart here that I always have volume highlighted. I want to make sure that when I look at my 15-minute chart, if I'm putting something near the top of my list that has 10 different ideas, I generally speaking want it to have been doing higher than normal volume. And if I can't tell that by just looking at it, then it's not that exciting to me. Like, I can look at Apple and see that since it broke down, and let me do that for you guys, it's pretty obvious that you're getting some extra volume in the last couple of days. We're like, that's an easy case. I know this is in play a little bit more than it was before. Now, this is obviously going to be true for something like a Peloton as well that had news. But Peloton was the same process that I had. Peloton had news, so I had to read up and make sure that we know that there is a story with the TikTok thing. It did come a little bit late. But as you can see, where I'm long off 580 on Peloton. It's not that difficult based on the same preparation that I showed you guys for Apple, where I got that entry from. It's just looking right here at this double bottom a couple of days ago, that same rejection. So I'm ignoring all of this price action. It's like, okay, I don't have, sure, it's a big move. If you had it early down here at 550, congratulations. But to me, to set up a trade, I want it trading off the price area that I kind of understand, which is this level here, the 580. So if I'm looking bullish on the stock and I'm not getting something off of 550, then I'm looking for something off of 580. And once that sets up, then I can start trading it. But you're not going to get that trade unless you've looked at that chart, you've pulled it and zoomed out, found my key price level, I put that level down on my iPad, I can set an alert on Trade Ideas, I can set an alert in pPro8, I can draw a line on my chart. There's multiple ways that you can do this. I tend to like to have a line on my pPro8 chart, so it's obvious when I look at it. And then I just try not to act until it gets into that range or is doing what I'm hoping or expecting off of that level. So it's a little bit tedious in terms of looking at charts. And I was going to get a little bit more into the quote board, which I can, because I have a quote board that is all of my symbols. And this is the other thing I will do. because I have a huge quote board. I do not check every single one of these stocks pre-market for a chart. Like, that would be insane to do. But what I do is I sort this one a couple of times, once when I sit down, another time at about 7:30, and another time just before I'm making my note, which I send out at about, like I send the mix out at about 7:50 to 8 o'clock. At about that time, I want to make sure that I'm checking pre-market volume leaders on my list of big stocks, and I want to see what's moving percentage based. So once I have those, am I missing something that should be on my list that isn't based on what's actually moving? So let's just say for some reason I hadn't noticed that Mara was moving 8% to the upside. Say this was a pre-market, then I would add Mara to my list, go back through that same process, go to Benzinga, check the news, go back into Trade Ideas, check out the fundamentals to refresh my memory on Mara. What is Mara's short float? Generally speaking, sometimes I might already have it on my iPad, but I like to be thorough. If it's there, great. I've been trading Mara. I know it's about 22%. That's what matters. And then I go to my weekly, daily. In this particular case, because it's Mara, I'm going to go right on over, and I'll always have it right open. I know I have to check out what's going on in Bitcoin. So the exact same process now has to happen for BTC as well. Okay, well, what are the levels? What do I not want to be doing with Mara when I see a key price level in BTC? Yesterday, you heard me say this, I was making the mistake of still looking to short Mara when BTC broke out the lower high, and it was trending to the upside. So today, when it made that break to the upside, what did I not do? The only thing I looked for was a single long in both Coinbase and in Mara, just one time in both names as you were breaking out the top. Now, that's because I had a level that I had found on Bitcoin that I expected Mara to at least respect. Now, it doesn't mean this goes up, Mara has to go up, but I want to know so that I'm armed with the information to execute, hopefully in the right direction, and hopefully not against the grain, and not have to fight the trend. It's all about preparation. The thing about the markets and what it's going to do to you if you don't prepare is it doesn't care. Bitcoin doesn't care. The NASDAQ futures don't care about you. Peloton price movement doesn't care about you. Apple, the big whales, the algos, they don't care necessarily what you think is going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen. Everyone always likes to relate trading to, in some ways, it is a little bit like sports. Like your preparation, you go in there, it's game day, and then you're playing the same game, but it's a little bit different every day. It's exciting, all that stuff. But the one thing that's different is if I'm playing basketball against Sharif one-on-one, it is me. I am in control. I got the ball. I do what I want to do. I don't know if he's a basketball player, so I have no idea how I do against Sharif in basketball. And the last time, and candidly speaking, before we get into it, the last time I actually said some crap about being better than a trader on the floor in basketball, the dude, and I'm glad the video doesn't exist anymore, let's just say my knee was in some pain at the bar after, and I lost. So, all jokes aside, the market isn't like that. Right? Like, you can control your own process. You can control the knowledge that you have going into it. What is the overall trend, and do I want to be with it? What are the key price levels, and do I want to trade around them? What is my plan of action when it trades around that level? Where are the key prices where I know that I am wrong about my thesis? Where are the areas where I'm looking for target outs, and how much can the stock give me? If I can narrow all of those things down every single day, it simplifies the process, right? And everybody's process is going to be different. I don't expect, Sean's is going to be a little bit different from mine. And Sharif's will be a little bit different as well, whether it's Max on the trading floor or OB, everyone's going to be a little bit different, but you have to have your process that allows you to trade. And I'm not just saying this because it's a soundbite. I can tell you there has been very little variation, except for maybe the number of symbols I look at because of the show. But I've done the exact same thing since I started in 2003. I've always prepared that way with the stocks that I trade. And there are times where if I mess up a part of my routine, I've gone back to the bridge or talked to a trader. It's like, man, I traded this stock, I didn't look at this aspect of the chart, I didn't read this article before I fired an order. There's something that I didn't do, and if I make a mistake like that, regardless of win or loss, I reprimand myself because I know that it could be a costly error, right? Just to give you an example, we've talked about this before, but I was in a trade in a bank, and I had the earnings call time wrong. Like, that's something that would normally be on my iPad when I'm prepping. But I didn't know the earnings call was on, and I was trading anyways. And that's something that I can control. And if you can control that, then all you're doing is lessening the reasons that you can possibly fail. Because the market's going to move how it's going to move. You can control what you're going to control, and every trader gets to control their level of preparation. So everyone talks about like the Mamba mentality, like what's so great. Like the reason I respect a lot about Kobe Bryant's game is just how consistently that guy prepares. You know, it's not like he's not there doing it to say, hey, look at me. He's doing it because he believes the preparation is going to make him a better basketball player, right? And then at the end of the day, regardless of who you are, what you're trying to do, if you're trying to get better at something, have a consistent routine. So I hope that wasn't too rambly for you. The process, it's very chart intensive. It is a step-by-step. And one of the reasons I like the step-by-step is I find that if I do it the same way every single day, I'm less likely to miss a step. So people call it like OCD. I feel like I have a little bit of that in terms of my routine. I'll leave you with a little bit of an anecdote because this is actually true. Yesterday, my train for the first time in, it was like half a year, was more than like 15 minutes late. So instead of getting into the office at like 6:45, I got into the office at 7:05. And I made a couple of mistakes in terms of like where I was marking off. It's just little sloppy things. You would have seen on Mara that my initial notes I had waiting until it got to like 23 and a half. And then when it came to execute, I wasn't trading at that level. I was trading early. And the reason for that is next to Mara on my iPad, I didn't actually write the level down. Like when I went through my chart, I was making notes as I was getting like the morning mix up, and I was getting into Twitter, and I wrote it on Twitter. And I don't have yesterday's, like if I was ready for it. I have today's just to give you an idea. So I was putting together. Can we come to my chart for a second, or come to my screen? So I was essentially putting together my notes, and I had Mara in there, and because I was just a little bit rushed, I was sitting there writing down a couple of my notes on Mara. But I did not write down the levels on my iPad. So that when Mara started trading, I was just way too focused on the tape and not laser focused on my levels. Like I was seeing things that I was trying to find trades on instead of having the focus of, if you'll see me look down in the show often, okay, look down, remind yourself remind yourself of the level. And I didn't do that yesterday on Mara, and it led to a mistake. And I think it started because I was like 15 minutes late and didn't make that mental adjustment to be a little bit more tedious. So anyways, that's my prep. Everyone has to be a bit different. Let me know what yours is. I'm actually curious because if you guys can maybe tell me, like, what do you think could be better? What's something you do that I don't? What's something that you've heard somebody else does that you think is really cool in their preparation that gets you ready for a good trading day? I'd love to hear about it. So tag myself on Twitter, tag Sean on Twitter, or put it in the chat, whatever it might be. It's all about learning from each other, and I hope that's something we're able to accomplish here today, guys.
Thank you very much, Neil. Fantastic information as always. Great response from people in the chat. Thank you for listening to the man, giving you his 4-on-1 about how he gets ready for the markets all day. Appreciate that very much, Neil. Thank you for that. All right, let's get into the trade right now. QuantumScape is an absolute rocket. But look where it found resistance. I mean, 950, bro, come on. I mean, like, this is what we were talking about on the daily chart over here. We looked at what it did in July. We said 950. There's that trough area at around 950 before it really skyrocketed there in late July, guys, to that almost $14 area. The base was 950, and lo and behold, the Current high of day, 953, and when you look at it on the 1 minute time frame, we are finding that big move down. But is this like one of the moves down where we just, that's it, that's the end of the move, and we're gonna continue to head south? Well, I'm gonna give this to $9, right? Comes below 9, it closes below 9, we'll end the trade. I got 2 more on anyway on this, so not much left on this bad boy. We got almost top wick, 953 was the top, we got 945. So we'll see how this one does, but QuantumScape awfully strong. In case you are just joining us, this is getting a nice move up from a headline that came in this morning with respect to its association with Volkswagen. Apparently Volkswagen taking an interest in what QuantumScape has been basically doing for the past little while, their existence, which is to try to make a battery that doesn't degrade after umpteen amount of charging. Here's the headline, guys. QuantumScape shares surge after Volkswagen affirms solid-state battery performance tests. So I guess Volkswagen giving the nod, and maybe not QuantumScape saying it this time around, because anybody who remembers this stock in 2020 and 2021 knows that once it made its way to that $140 area, wherever it went up to, it was inundated with lawsuits, class action lawsuits by investors who accused it of overstating its results with respect to its tests with the battery, and basically that they were misled into investing in the stock and they wanted their money back. So I guess when Volkswagen gives the nod, people maybe taking notice here. Here's what the headline says as QuantumScape now comes down.
Bless you.
I had the presence of mind to hit the mute button there, save Fabian's ears from blowing up. All right, shares of QuantumScape surged, 32%, they're well over that now, after Wednesday's announcement that the company's solid-state lithium battery technology passed long-range tests undertaken by the German car giant Volkswagen Group. The stock, which rose as high as $863, obviously that's not accurate anymore, on track for the biggest daily percentage gain since December 2020, with trading volume more than 5 times the 10-day moving average. QuantumScape's solid-state lithium battery achieved more than 1,000 charging cycles with still more than 95% capacity based on test results carried out by PowerCo, the battery company of Volkswagen Group, according to a statement on the car company's website. This means that, quote, depending on the model, an electric car could drive more than 500,000 kilometers without any noticeable loss of range when powered by QuantumScape solid-state battery, solid-state lithium battery. The statement, pardon me? The chat, what's up? On what? McDonald. Oh, Mickey D's. Yeah, sorry. Okay, Mickey D's. Neil was just telling me that Mickey D's is making a move. All right, so QuantumScape here breaking down below 9. That's the end of my trade for that. We're going to flatten out there. What is Mickey D's ticker? I don't know.
MCD.
MCD?
Ooh.
I know that. All right, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, wow. Okay, here comes that big move down off 297 Adara. We get down into that 291, but we're bought up immediately, and now we're doing the dance here at 292 and change. Let's pull up MCD and see what the headline is. Here it is. McDonald's CEO says recognize that several markets in Middle East and some outside regional experience meaningful business impact due to war. Look, I got to tell you, my parents watch a lot of Egyptian television, and when I'm there on the weekends, I can tell you that there is an activist movement in the Middle East for what they perceive to be our pro-Western companies, Starbucks, McDonald's. This is a distinct possibility that they experience widespread boycotts in the Middle East. Whether you condone it or not, that's really not for us to discuss on this show. We talk about price action, but here we go. McDonald's down the day now. 1/3% was well below that at that 291 level. We'll have to see if the volatility remains here on Mickey D's or whether we get a move back up into that 296, 297 range where we were at before that. You'll recall Starbucks on their earnings call, or I think last week or something like that, they said they were experiencing about $10 billion worth of losses from boycotts that they're experiencing in the Middle East. So it stands to reason that McDonald's likely will suffer a similar result. I got to tell you, I got my own personal opinion on these boycotts, but that's probably not the right time to discuss this. I don't like them. Anyway, McDonald's going back down aggressively. Here comes 292 again. And now we are, let's see if we get that break of 292, because it looked like a bit of a dead cat bounce there off that 291, then moving back into 294. Now we're well below 294 on that initial bounce here into the low 292s. So we'll see how this one ends up working. No, I'm not sharing my opinion, guys. I mean, like, it's just it's not the appropriate venue for it. Anyway, what do you see over there, Adair?
Well, for what I see, super chat from the Hayes Records. Thank you so much for the 199 super chat. 2 out of 2 for the day on Amazon Cons, Lil Gorilla. But the crown's mine, Obi. Lil knowing, Lil smirky face. But yeah, oh, Obi. But he's not there.
Where is he at?
He's chilling.
Oh, that's Raj. It's just Obi.
But yeah,
right.
so congrats to you, the Hayes Records, and thank you always for your support. And he's coming after Obi's Amazon crown, apparently. But yeah, this Amazon too. This is definitely an interesting one to play with here today. We're down on the day. This one I remember in Sector Watch, I was like, what is he doing? Because Amazon, when I say he, I guess I made Amazon a man here. But Amazon, yeah, massive move to the downside. Just kind of going into the pre-market. A little bit of recovery earlier today. Now we're kind of heading back to the downside. Pumping off VWAP potentially. I wasn't looking at Amazon today, but I do like the look of this. So yeah, thank you there to you, the Hayes Records. Also,
can you look at S? Because
yeah,
Skyber's been asking, and I told them we'd look when we came back.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's look at
Sentinel
S for Sentinel 1. Also, by the way, I just want to say thank you so much to Neil for, he's not sitting there right now, but thank you, Neil, for that talk on the morning mix. He's always here super early, and I thought that was really cool to get an insight there. Yeah, I believe also Skybear was talking about longer term looks on SNLs or Sentinel S. So I guess I'm in an SNL mood. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, I like this. It's kind of an interesting look here. I think you mentioned long plays. The one thing that would concern me here is we did fall a little bit out of this move to the upside here yesterday or today. Let me look at S. Do we have any news on Sentinel 1? Okay, yeah, yesterday. Okay, so it they had an acquisition of PingSafe yesterday, which I think might explain that move to the downside. But yeah, I mean, really, like overall, pretty strong look, I would say. Definitely a bit of a bottom here at that 15 area. But yeah, like I would say with the exception of this big move we had down yesterday, not a bad look for Sentinel 1. Does seem to be a bit of a consolidative top though here around this 2750, 2770. So that I would kind of keep an eye on in terms of levels. Let me look at the, I want to look at the weekly on this. Yeah, I mean, the weekly, okay, the weekly, I really like this look too because it kind of confirms that area of consolidation. I would really keep my eye on this 28 area because look, that's where we fall down from earlier as well. So that 28 area seems to be pretty key on Sentinel. I would probably keep my eyes peeled for that as we have fallen off that a little bit. But there was kind of, news specific falling off yesterday with regards to that acquisition. I would in general, though this 28 could be a bit of a double top, I would keep an eye on that. Looks like even pretty solid bottom here though, around 14. Also, can
I just add one thing to Sentinel 1? Because John Del Segno, he says, I trade Sentinel 1 very often. They almost always get absolutely wrecked on poor guidance and or earnings, FYI. I just want to, obviously that's John's opinion, but I just want to share that because he's often very active in the chat.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. I appreciate that. And yeah, not something I would have noticed, but what I do notice is this really clear double top. I would be very wary of this $28 area. I'm going to old man finger this. But again, no, not like advice, just kind of like my take on the chart. Also, in a pickle asking my thoughts on Lily, and we know I will offer those freely and frequently. So I was just talking to Sharif about this actually off camera, and I was saying, Eli Lilly, this 628 continuing to be an area of interest. One of the big things I've learned here, from Sharif on the desk, is how pre-market levels can be kind of key sometimes, not always, but always, sometimes for profit takers or areas of interest. This 628, mixed 627, 628 area, really big area in the pre-market, came back in the resistance becoming support here around.
Look how much action you've had at that price level.
Yeah.
because of the flipping between support and resistance. So much action at that particular price.
Yeah.
If we had a volume profile on there, I'm willing to bet you that the majority of the volume is at that level.
Yeah, the volume, not actually as much as I would have expected.
No, not that. The volume profile, where it shows you where the volume is taking place. Remember when Steph was, remember that, when she had that on? We don't have that on our platform here, but I'm willing to bet you the volume profile is around that 628, 629-ish area.
Yeah, because this is crazy, and this is why this trade too, I ended up getting out a little bit earlier than I thought, because we ended up, that 630 ended up being kind of a key area. We were ranging a little bit. Then we fall off around that 629, as Sharif said, like you totally called it, that was an area where it was pretty key. And then guess what? We come back, guess where we're seeing resistance?
Where?
Once, twice,
Bang.
628. So I think kind of a key area too, that would be my look on Eli Lilly. Thank you to
Charles Butler.
That's
hilarious. I don't think it's a person's name, bro.
I think, well,
the
someone was saying earlier, I'm going to look this up. Was this a human? I mean, who knows?
I'm pretty sure it's probably named after their originator.
Named after Colonel Eli Lilly.
His name was Eli. Oh.
So I think someone was mentioning that in the chat before too, but I wanted like confirmation on that as well. But I will say too, what's interesting is it sounds to me kind of like, you know, like it sounds like a name of like a character in something. I don't know, like Eli Lilly, like you know, like kind of a fun, quirky name. But I see, I appreciate that comment there.
Adam's notifying you, but NVIDIA says possible short on NVDA. You want to have a look?
Let's pull that up. Yeah, thank you, Adam, and thank you,
Adam
Sharif, for
Deluce,
pointing that one out. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. I had a brief, and when I say brief, I mean 5 cent long here on NVIDIA earlier, just because I was trying to take advantage of that kind of 482, 483 kind of area. But yeah, I see what you mean. Like, certainly is short. The one thing that makes me nervous here is I think like how I would play this. I mean, it doesn't make me nervous. Like, how I would play this is probably how
That's the guy on the
how I trade meta sometimes, kind of going in and out of ranges. So as the thing falls to the downside, what I'd probably do is I get near top wick on the upper end of the range. So right now it looks like 482.60 area. Then I take it to about the bottom of the range, which is 482. The issue is the range in NVIDIA isn't huge for me right now. So it would kind of be, I think, a bit more of like a dicier kind of feel it out trade. But I would say it's definitely not a long, Adam. I appreciate the look on that, and I would agree with you. It looks like we've fallen off from this 483, which is kind of decent intraday support. So I think, I'm going to keep an eye on this. If we fall even further below, like decisive break below 482 could be of interest to me. Thank you so much for bringing that one up. Adam?
Yeah. Shout out to Big Adam Deluce, our Arsenal playing Liverpool this weekend, Adara, in the FA Cup, and I want revenge. So, yeah, because now they're in first place. All right, guys, let's get to QuantumScape because it is bouncing here, guys. It did break below 9, so we flattened out the trade, but it was, just a perfunctory break of $9 because it got down into that $8.92 area, and then it like quadruple bottom there on the 1-minute chart, and now we are pumping up again on QuantumScape back into that 9.25. The initial resistance level was 9.5. We did earmark that on the daily. That takes us back into July. It was the trough area. Just have a look at your daily chart. That was the whole reasoning behind the 9.5, target. It wasn't out of nowhere. It was the daily chart level there. But if we can have a second crack here at 9.5, there is really no reason that we can't break it and continue to pump. A resistance level is only good until it's broken. I mean, it's just, how many times have we seen that happen in the past? Katina Man's over there. How's everything going? Long Tesla, 240.30. The Katina Man is long Tesla, 240.30. So clearly almost $2 in the money on this one as it continues to pump up here. New position for the Katina Man, SoFi long, right here, basically where the price is right now. So people following along with the Katina Man, he's now long SoFi. He's been holding Tesla off that 240.30 in case you're, you want to follow the Katina Man's trades. He'll be on in about an hour and 20, but for now, I'll keep you guys updated. So anyway, QuantumScape, an absolute pump factory here, but unless we can make higher highs through that 950 break, technically 953 is the high, we'll kind of be in no man's land. So I'll pack my patience and see what's good there. Now, let's bring in watch list to continue with the lesson du jour. So we talked about the growth watch list and the value watch list, which are misnomers. They're neither that nor this. That's how I started off my watch list, one for growth, one for value, but they've since evolved into neither. So now, last but not least, the ETFs watch list. And this one is the most recent of my ETFs. I've broken down into several sections. The first one is sector ETFs, and one to three different ETFs per sector. I'll go through all of them here. And then I have my index ETFs for whatever index tickles your fantasy. It's all there. The equal weighted ETFs, and this is important because you've heard Michael Noss talk about the performance of the SPY versus the RSP, and how the SPY absolutely shellacked the RSP in 2023 because it was buoyed by the Mag 7, because it's market cap weighted, whereas the RSP is equal weighted. So each individual component gets the same amount of weight on the RSP, whereas on the SPY, it is weighted by market capitalization. So equal weighted ETFs here, and then I have a commodity ETFs category as well. I keep my eye on the commodities, the silvers, the gold. We'll get to those in a second. Currency ETFs. And then the last but not least, the subversive ETFs. And I was joking with Brendo about that. I've got the Nancy Pelosi ETF and the Ted Cruz ETF. There is an inverse Jim Cramer ETF. I don't know what that one is. Can you guys throw that in the chat? It's what? S. Jim, the Katina man says. We're going to add that live right now. S, which is short Jim, obviously. SJIM. There, the inverse Kramer ETF. I'm putting that one on too, baby. So we've got the subversive ETFs here, which I just, comically named. All right, let's get through the individual components here on the sector ETF. So you have the XLE. That's the energy, right? So all these ones are the Spider ETF. So when it starts with X, it's Spider. XLE, you have XLF. That's the one that I got into. That's the financials ETF. The XLF up 0.85% today. Then you have XLU, which is utilities. So your power companies like the Enbridges and stuff like that. The counter cyclicals, essentially, XLU. Then you have the XLI, which is the industrials. You got your Caterpillars, your Deeres, some other names in there as well. And besides, you can go into each ETF and see what its positions are, what its holdings are, what percentage of its holdings, okay? XLI. Then you have the golds. I have the GDX, right, the Van Eck gold miners, and then I have the GDXJ, the junior gold miners. And there's the other one, the technology, XLK, that's your technology ETF. SOXL, we talk about this one a lot, the semi-bull 3 times leveraged ETF. That's SOXL. I've talked to you about this one, SMH. That's the Van Eck semiconductor ETF. That's also important. And then, I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can pause. Oh, fantastic, Fabian. I love how you zoomed in on that. Thank you very much, Fabian, for doing that. I didn't even know you could do that. Yeah. That's really good. I'll move down so you can see all of them. You can always pause, add these bad boys on later. The index ETFs, obviously, you got the SPY, UVXY, all the Qs, the variants of the Qs, the triple Qs, the T triple Qs, the S triple Qs. You got your IWM for the Russell. You got your DIA for the Dow, right? Moving down, here are the equal weighted ETFs. The one that I was just talking about is the Invesco equal weight, which is the RSP. That's the S&P equal weight ETF. Then you have the Invesco 500 equal weight RSPD, right? So many different ones, guys. And you have the commodities ones as well, your golds, your silvers, etc. So all these ones, just make sure you can either screenshot or pause or whatever you need to do if you're interested. If you're not, just feel free to disregard this. But the reason I use this, and I was telling Adair earlier, when I look at one line on an ETF, it's kind of looking at an entire watch list for that particular sector. Because when I see, for example, that the let's just say XLF, the financials ETF is up 5%, I'm not saying it is, 5%, then I know right away banks are pumping. So all of a sudden, all I need to do is just go into my bank's ETF and see what the hell is up, right? Or my bank's watch list, see what's up. and which one is really the reason it's moving up. Is it JP Morgan? Is it a combination of all of them? Is there some macroeconomic tailwind that's pushing all of them higher? So by having an ETF's watch list, I can basically narrow down the sector immediately that I wanna, that is pumping, that's moving up or down, and then I can just focus on that. And that's the reason I keep my eye on ETFs. I really hope that helps. Now, back to QuantumScape here. It pumped back into 9 1/3, but now it's doing that lower high, flat bottom little dance there. Somebody in the chat asked me earlier, Sharif, you got out of QuantumScape, why aren't you shorting? I said to them, I don't know if we're gonna, basically retrace the entire move, or we're gonna, consolidate somewhere in between. I'm not sure quite yet, but here we go. This is kind of what I was looking for a possible short. You get a big move up after the initial crest over here into 9 1/2. You get another crest into 9 1/3. And if we come back down into that $8.90-ish area, that will be an interesting flat bottom break. And then we can start looking for possible short if it clears that level, maybe down into 8 or some other target. So QuantumScape awfully strong. We wet our beak here at top wick, but we're gonna wait for this one to develop a little bit more price action wise, and then we'll decide what we will do from there. Adair.
Yeah. No, I think that's, yeah, QuantumScape has been definitely a wild one. Also, I actually have a question. So maybe is one of the reasons that, because I know sometimes people will short these small caps the day after their runs, because that's when they usually will sometimes have pullback, right? Sometimes they'll be multi-day runners. But also, would one of the scary things about shorting a small cap the day it's running be that it could run again? Because sometimes these ones do like to get, because I was just thinking about that. I was like, I would be terrified to short something like that today. Sorry for the aggressive finger pointing, because it's just because of the way that they move. You know what I mean? Like just ran so quickly. Who says it can't run again?
There's nothing that says it can't run again.
That's, that makes sense. I was just, I guess I kind of thought of that.
You need to be careful. Yeah, especially with the low floaters. You short a low floater, you could get punched in the face because there's no top to the short, right? It's unlimited theoretically, obviously. Yeah. Giant nightmares, man. Making me laugh.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, you could absolutely get run over shorting a low float small cap gapper. So I would look for some technical reason to want to get in rather than just shorting for second day weakness.
Yeah,
you know
or
what
like
I mean?
the whole like the mean reversion. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Also, I have this tweet because I was I saw this yesterday because I go through tweets, and I just thought this is really funny. This Jim Cramer tweet with regards to the that's a nice asset you've got there. We're going to speak positively about it. Why this was running is because on Tuesday.
Look at that smirk he's got on there too.
On Tuesday, Jim was Jim was pumping Bitcoin. He was like bullish on Bitcoin, and then you saw what happened yesterday with Bitcoin. To the downside. So I just thought that was kind of funny. No disrespect to Jim. I just saw the tweet and I was like,
he's tough enough to take it anyway.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. He can continue that smirk, can keep smirking.
Portnoy was on a podcast yesterday, and he went and he was basically saying Jim is one of the most honest guys he's ever met, and if he wanted to ask somebody for real financial advice, it would be Jim. They go out together.
That's cool. I would respect that.
Yeah, I don't know if Portnoy's got an alternative motive here. Maybe, whatever. But, just saying what he said.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, so I didn't know that about him in Portnoy. I want to look that up now. But also, so I did have a little trade I want to chat about.
Oh.
I took this Tesla short. Now, I realized that this kind of was a little counter trend because we were up on the day with Tesla, but what I was looking for was levels. I saw us take a swoop down to the downside at this 241.80, and look what, we come again into 241.80. We approach it again, and I'm watching the tape, and I'm like, oh no, we're getting a little bit weaker, right? So I got it at 241.60, so not top wick. Again, in the sim here, I took a short off this 241.60. Took my first profit taker around this 241.15. Why? Because that was where we picked up a little bit earlier. You know what I mean? This is what I said. Like I like doing my ranges off of previous levels, and this is also what I was talking about yesterday. Why I like being a midday trader, although part of that is literally by design. We're here in the midday. Yeah. I do like it because it helps me trade off ranges because I think it kind of suits my natural style. Then I was going to take the rest of my profit off this kind of this 240.60, 240.55 area. I ended up getting out because I was noticing we had a really hard time decisively breaking below 241. Got out the rest at 240.99. That I did change my profit taker, but that's kind of part of what I'm trying to do with the scalpulating. So I'll take it. I'm pretty happy with how this trade went. Also, Adam DeLu saying, oh, I did my best to give you a dollar club trade. Yeah, Adam called it that NVIDIA short. Thank you so much to that. I do appreciate the advice. Yeah, the reason I didn't take this is because, like I said, I am a bit rangier. You know what I mean? Like that Tesla short was a bit easier for me to take just from a range perspective because we saw that failure of the 241.60 before. But no, I really, like, this is a really good short, Adam DeLuce. You totally called this one. I do appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, if we see a bit more range action here, I might get back in. But I think part of it too is I'm just trying to like kind of respect my trading style and figure out what that style is. You know what I mean? I think because I feel very lucky to be able to have the opportunity to be in the sim, I want to take the most of that. So yeah, I appreciate Jacobo Rivero saying great job on that short. Thank you so much. But yeah, so Mark Susi saying Disney coming back to support. Oh. Let's see how the House of Mouse is going. Oh, yes, I mean, support. Is it ever support? This 90 area, pretty clear area of support. I see what you mean. We're getting kind of close to this area. Disney, I know Neil was asking about Disney earlier, and I couldn't find anything beyond a story about Disney doing some, making sure all the antitrust ground is good for its issue with, not issue, but I guess with Reliance. Also, ESPN and NCAA are reaching a new 8-year rights agreement. So I mean, do you think some of these catalysts would be nice for Disney? Yeah. Here we go. Reliance and Disney engaging in antitrust due diligence for India media merger. That's what that is. Yeah, so I'm not really seeing, and then also Disney Basic now available for charter spec. So I'm not really seeing any negative catalysts on this one. But yeah, I think definitely this 90 support is interesting, Mark. And let me look at the daily on Disney, because I was looking at this one yesterday as well. I mean, yeah, this 90 area, kind of an interesting bottom for Disney in the longer term, but slightly higher lows. So yeah, I think interesting look on daily. M. Mason wondering how many words Adara puts out in 1 minute. Wow, she has it going on. Great job. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people in the past have commented on my word per minute count. Never done a study, but yeah, we'll have to find out. That's
AI could help us with that. Okay, so did I tell you about my little stint with Google Bard?
You did not?
Okay, so this was like a while ago. Okay. Right? I think about like 8 months ago or something like that, or whenever they put it new. We don't have Bard in Canada. But if I use a VPN, I can access it easily. But the cool thing about it was I could go into it. I said, Bard, do you have access to Yahoo, or not Yahoo, YouTube transcripts for the Trader TV Live channel? It's like, yes, I do. I was like, fantastic. I was like, what did Sharif say about NVIDIA on like whatever, May 25th? It's like, Sharif said da-da-da-da-da, and it misquoted me, right? It basically took something someone else said, whether it was Sean, Neil, Brendo, I don't know who it was, but it's not what I said. So it is improving. It's not perfect yet, and this was a while back. Maybe it's even improved since then, but the cool thing about it is like, as a journalist, if I want to go back and do my homework on you, and I could say, okay, pull up all the interviews on YouTube that have Adara LePage in it, okay? What did Adara say about Google between the years of, like, let's say 2020 and 2022? It would be like, on this day, Adara said this. On this day, Adara said that. So I could come to you later and be like, Adara, hold on, you said this, and that. Like, what do you think about that now? Right? And so I think that, no, but it's good for like investigative journalism.
Gotcha, not gotcha, but like I mean, like having like, I shouldn't have said gotcha journalism, but it's good for like, you know, actually, you're right, like being able to pull it up quickly, because a lot of people, especially if you're doing profiles on people too, and you want to, like, before you interview them, what is this person like, what has Sam Altman historically said about AI? Or what has Elon Musk said about Disney? You know what I mean? Like different kind of examples.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's
it's very cool. Yeah. Obviously, it's not perfect. We know that it would made plenty of mistakes. I got to tell you the truth. But the fact is, it's interesting. Now, let's get to QuantumScape, guys, because Bamboozlement Central on QS here. We were talking about this lower high, pardon me, that we couldn't get up back into $9.30, and we would possibly take a short if it broke that 890 area. Well, there was obviously other people thinking the same, and then even more intelligent people that were thinking, that knew what I was thinking, and we're going to take the opposite side of it, because when we broke that level, we really didn't flush. So I'm going to stay put on this one. I'm not going long or short. It's obviously in an undecided range right now, a little bit above 9, a little bit below 9. I don't know what to make of this stock quite yet, but what I do know is that it's putting in lower highs, right? Here's the crest. another crest, and these two crests are the same, and it is putting in lower lows, but it's not breaking down with any oomph, because there's the trough over here at around 12:30, and then here's the trough here at 12:45, and that's a lower low. So lower highs, lower lows, but yeah, I don't know what to do with this one quite yet. Gonna stay put until it gives me some sort of clear indication. Now, mega cap world. Meta is pumping up here. It's up almost 1%. It's knocking on the door of $348. It's coming into R1, resistance level 1, which is the teal dotted line on my chart. Nice bull flag, or bull, yeah, that's a pennant, excuse me, that it put in today, coming off that, let's say it was off the pivot point around 345-ish, and now we're knocking on the door of 348. So good day for Meta right now. Really, I think it's, you know, it and Nvidia are the top two Mag 7. No, that's not true. Tesla's is up 1% as well. So those three moving, Nvidia, Tesla, and Meta, looking like the strongest of the bunch. But price action wise on the chart, Tesla, even though it is up more than Meta, it doesn't look as bullish of a pattern, quite frankly, on TSLA. So we'll have to wait and see what that one does. Nvidia is the one that Adam gave you that short on, that 485 top, and now we just barely held VWAP right here. We're holding on to VWAP. VWAP is the white line on my chart at that 481. You're getting a bit of a bounce there. We'll see if this one's able to recover off that 485 to the penny rejection on NVDA. So that's what is up in large cap world. You saw the Katina main take Google long today, and I got to tell you, Google was strong earlier on, breaking through that 139, but look at Google absolutely give up the ghost. Is there a headline here on Google? Let's just look quickly. No, I don't see anything Google related right now. Okay, on my blotter, anything to account for this move, but Google is down and to the right, and we are really headed close to S1 support level 1 on pivots at around that 137 and 1/5, let's say 137.15. We're awfully close to that right now, with the low day at 137 1/3 on GOOGL. We'll have to see if this one continues to head to the downside, but it was Apple, the weakest of the bunch, but now Google looking to take the cake. Amazon is actually the weakest of the bunch, but chart pattern wise, Google looks awfully weak here. We'll have to see what ends up happening with Google. Let's see what the chat is up to here. Manuel Avina, $5 super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Labu for long term. Let's have a look at LABU. Labu?
Labu?
All right, let's pull up a side chart over here. LABU. Let's go into the daily and put in the ticker. All right.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of charts look like this.
Yeah.
Highs during the pandemic and then down the right subsequent. So obviously, like I was just saying, highs in the pandemic got us to $3,700. Looks like that was the high there in Feb of 2021, and then obviously lower highs and lower lows all throughout. Sadly, the pattern has not changed, at least for the last year and a half. Starting over here in April 2022, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and then another lower high over here. And the lower lows are also intact. We have this lower low, an equal low over here, and then the new lower low over here at that $50 area. We did have a 1-to-20 split back in early December of last year, December of 2023. But since that time, we have started to move to the high side. So a bit of a double bottom here, possibly. I'm not calling this a double bottom. Possibly here in the fall of 2023 at that $50 mark, it gets bought up, and then we have really moved up nicely since those bottoms. Since that bottom we put in October, the stock is up 173%, maybe almost 175%. I would say about 175% off the bottom there. And what you have is a cross of the 50, a cross of the 200 and a closing basis above the 200 EMA. You also have the 200 and the 50 EMAs both pointing upwards. You're likely, if the trend continues, to get that golden cross where the 50 crosses the 200. They're getting a lot narrower in distance than they previously were. I'm talking about the 200 EMA and the 50 EMA. You have the 200 EMA at 110 and the 50 at 95. So they're about separated by about 15 bucks. So it's a good recent look, but when you look at the overall trend, it is still quite ugly. Yeah, so we'll have to see how this one does, but not a decent, a decent recovery off the bottoms. I would say look for the taking of new highs, look for the making of a new high. So what I was telling you earlier is we didn't have any higher highs going back into April of 2022. It's consecutively been lower high, lower high, lower high. Look for a newer high, maybe above this 155 area on a closing basis to really kind of solidify the deal here. You haven't had either any bamboozling crosses of the 50 and the 200, which is good, which shows you that this is not in a consolidative state, because typically what happens when you're in areas of consolidation is you'll have these crosses multiple times between the 50 and the 200, which are essentially no use. So Labu looks good from, let's say, October 2023 onwards. Otherwise, it's got a lot to make up for, Adara.
Yeah, LabU, that's a rough one, but I think, yeah, with regards to it being like, I guess kind of biotech related, I think maybe with some of this biotech news, we'll have to wait and see here. But also, Chelsea Ashley saying, can we please take a look at Spot, team, nearly up 4% on the day, prayer hand emoji. And yeah, let's look at Spotify. Let's see what we can spot in Spot. Yeah, I have no self-control when it comes to puns. Okay, also, some news on Spotify. So at 10:25 a.m., this is from our lovely friend Benzinga, watching Spotify technology, hearing traders circulate investor business daily swing trader buy stock. Then 10:30, Morgan Stanley Wealth Management adds position in Spotify, increases position in NVIDIA, and then also reduce their AMD position. But all that matters to us is that, or at least for the extent of us looking at the Spotify chart, is that we did get an increase in, from Morgan Stanley Wealth Management, increase in the Spotify position. Now, what I find interesting is I think the really strong on the day, I totally, very much agree, Chelsea, really good look on the day. And you can kind of see where we got this news, because a little bit of pop at 10:30, then another nice pop again at 11:10. Generally higher lows, higher highs. Looks like we're slowing down a little bit, though. I would say this 195.50 area could be kind of consolidative. It'll have to see if we can kind of keep this steam up. Because I wouldn't even say it's a flat top break either, because it's not really a flat top. I would just say slower momentum. But I want to look at the daily to see what areas we might, RIP my chart. Give me a moment here. There we go. Thank you, Tickle Gollum, shouting out the puns. Much appreciated there. Yeah, let's look at Spotify on the daily to kind of see if what levels are interesting here. Okay, yeah, let me zoom out a little bit here on Spotify. Yeah, I think definitely sort of in the start of a downward trend here, trying to break to the upside. I think that we broke this 194.95, so I guess more or less 195. I think that would be an interesting break. I think, but also what's interesting too is we had a little bit of support at 194 earlier. So I think this 194, 195 area, kind of an interesting one for Spotify perhaps. To the upside, definitely areas would be that consolidative top around this 198, 200 area. So I think that could be an area to watch. I would say, yeah, though, intraday, what does make me a little bit nervous about Spotify, that makes me think we might have heard the last of it as a long for today, is a little bit of a consolidative top. But again, not advice, just my take on the chart. I think a higher high would be greatly appreciated from Spotify. And I do think it has a little bit of room to run based on that daily chart that we just took a look at here. Also, Neil saying Peloton broke $6. So let's look at Peloton cycling its way to the upside after that news with its collaboration with TikTok. Shout out to Sharif. But that Peloton TikTok collab. Ooh, oh my gosh. Sorry for the shriek there, but Peloton looking really nice here. Yeah, I mean, spinning to the high side. Like this break above this 5.9 area was really key. Congrats to Neil and everybody in Peloton, because this is a really good look. And what's interesting too is I would argue this is sort of a flat top break, because not like the flattest top that I've ever seen, but look, we're up on the day. We have more or less this flat top, because we continue to wick into this kind of 5.9, 592 area, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low.
Yep.
Really interesting look. Swoop to the upside. Peloton squeezing up here. I am enjoying the look on Peloton here for sure. Yeah, that's kind of all. Also, just one more update here.
What is that, the 3-minute?
That's the 5-minute.
Wow, what a breakout.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's,
okay.
Holy cow, indeed, yeah. Really cool look like that. I was kind of charting this as more, not a perfect flat top, but kind of a flat top.
But look at it, it's
right?
on lower, well, I don't want to say lower volume, like look at your volume bars there. Like it's not really comparable to this one. Can you highlight this one over here? Yeah, so this bar over here, look at the amount of volume on there, and then look at this breakout. It's, well, the volume is increasing now finally, but it looked like to be on lesser volume. Interesting look there on Piton. Wow, 12.5%, not a bad look at all.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see here.
Yeah, we're probably going to pull up Piton on another screen here. Quick update, McDonald's. There was a headline with respect to that and lost revenues from the Middle East. It's since kind of started moving sideways, right? We had that rejection or that drop from 297 back into 293, and now we are moving sideways on Mickey D's. But you know, we're only down 1/3%. It's a $300 stock, so a $6 move. You know, big, but not huge for the particular price of the stock. So we'll have to keep an eye on Mickey D's. I'm gonna switch Mara and put Piton here. There we go. Keep an eye on Piton. But here it is, QuantumScape now headed back to the upside, now breaking through that $9.33. That was kind of the most recent high that we had here. Obviously not the 953 high, but that high over here on the attempted retracement north. This is why I didn't short this. I feel like it was indecisive about which direction it wanted to go, and it looks as if it is headed back to the upside. $9.40 is where we're at now. We're back up to 45%. It looks as if, you know, we're getting that momentum back to get us back, into that $0.50 area, maybe even break it. Lots of strength for QuantumScape, guys. It is a not heavily, but it has a higher short float than most. Here it is. Shout out to Trade Ideas and the crew. 16.75% of the float is shorted, and the float happens to be about 350 million shares on QuantumScape. So that one, you know, possible short squeeze can depends really where the shorts are sitting. Anyway, back into that 940 area. Let's start with the watch list again. I'm not going to go through every single entrant on my watch list, but I want to stress what I have for the markets and then the different sectors that I have, and then you can, you know, do your own additions or subtractions by pausing the stream and choosing what you want to select. So the most important watch list category for me is the overall market look. And I have several different, you know, entrants on or under that market headline. The first two are the most important to me, which is the ES and the NQ futures contracts. And I'll update these bad boys as we roll into a new contract like I did with the December 15th. Now it's the March 15th contract. The ES, NQ, I always want to know what these guys are doing at any one time. They include the stocks that I trade the most, and when we're trading futures, we're almost always trading the NQ, and so I want the MNQ, but the NQ is the big boy. So I always want to know what they're doing. Below that are two other futures contracts that I want to have an idea about, but not necessarily trade, and that goes by the Dow, which is the YM March contract, and the RTY, which is the Russell 2000, which is all small caps. You know, the Dow 30 select companies that the Dow chooses to represent each and every or each different sector in the economy, and then there's the RTY, which is just composed of the Russell, the 2000 small caps that they want to choose. Okay, so those are the four futures contracts covering those indexes that I follow. The Dow is not really an index, but whatever, that I follow. Below that are the yields. And the yields have played a much more important role in my assessment of the market, especially since the rate hiking cycle by the Fed and when rates have really started affecting the price of equities. And the three that I keep my eye on the most are the 10-year, the 2-year, and the 30-year. There's different reasons for that. The 2-year, obviously, it's the most reflective of current interest rates. The 10-year, a lot of mortgage rates are based upon the 10-year. And then the 30-year is kind of like that general outlook of what the economy expects longer down the line. Now, in case you're wondering why the hell is the 2-year paying more in terms of interest than the 10-year, because you're supposed to be getting higher interest for taking on duration risk. That is what we call the yield curve inversion, and we're just waiting for that to uninvert where the 2-year becomes less than the 10-year. A lot of speculation about when that uninversion will take place. But those are the three interest rate yields that I keep my eye on: the 10-year, the 2-year, and the 30-year. Below that, I want to know what the US dollar is up to on any one point. So I keep my eye on the US to Canadian conversion. I don't have a DXY. For some reason, I just can't get the Dixie on this one. So instead of that, I'm using the US to CAD. Below that is gold. And this is the continuous contract for gold. I always want to see what gold is doing. Whatever your inclination is for following gold, whether it's an inflation hedge, a volatility hedge, an uncertainty hedge, whatever you may be using gold for these days, I want to know what gold is up to at any one time. So as such, I keep my eye on the gold continuous contract. Below that is oil. I want to know what oil is up to. Oil was, featured a lot more in 2022 when, gas prices really shot up because of the belligerencies there in Europe. But, it's obviously an important commodity to keep our eye on, so I want to know what gold is doing. Below that, last but not least, is the tick indicator for the NYSE. And this over here essentially shows me, out of all, I think there's 2,800 stocks listed on NYSE, I could be wrong, about 2,800. Out of the 2,800 on the New York Stock Exchange, if you're to take the total, how many are moving, what's the difference between the ones that are moving up versus the ones that are moving down? If more are moving down, making a downtick in price, I'll see this number here with a negative beside it. If the balance of the stocks are making an uptick, I'll see this number with nothing beside it, and it'll just be, like 125 instead of minus 125. So this kind of gives me an instant look at whether the market is heading north or south at any one point. I keep that. This is a new entrant, by the way, the tick for the NYSE. Now, there is a tick for the NASDAQ. I don't have the data permissions for it, though, so I've chosen not to include it. That is my market outlook. This helps me focus and kind of know exactly what's up with the general market without looking at any specific individual names. That's my market outlook. Below that is big tech. Because big tech, well, you saw what happened in 2023. The Mag 7 were essentially responsible for the majority of the move in the S&P and the NASDAQ. And so I want to know what the hell they're doing at any point in the day. And I've also included Netflix in the mix here, even though, it's kind of fallen out of favor as of late. So you have the Netflix, the Microsoft, the Meta, the Apple, both Googles, Amazon, Tesla, and then right below that under microchips is NVIDIA. So because it's close by, I've chosen to keep NVIDIA under microchips and semiconductors rather than putting it under big tech, but it obviously deserves a spot with big tech because NVIDIA is now a trillion. And then you go. So that's microchips, semiconductors. I'm not going to go through the different names. Below that is electric vehicles, but it's a bit of a misnomer because electric vehicles / clean energy. I have the likes of Plug Power, Bloom Energy, F-Cell, Fuel Cell on there. Those are not electric vehicles, but they are clean energy names. Below that, we have the much maligned, at least as of late, Chinese ADRs, of which I have plenty. For many different sectors. You got the Babas, Baidus, etc. You can pause and have a look if you want. Below that is cryptocurrency and all the different derivatives thereof. I have the BTC price, the ETH price, and then all the related equities and ETFs as well. Then memes under that, cloud computing and IT security. These become less in importance, or not less importance. These are the names that I trade less often, and therefore I've kind of moved them down the watch list a little bit. Fintech is on there with Arm and Upstart, PayPal, Square, SoFi, some of the bigger names. Hood, you know, not really much of a trade these days. I'm talking about Robinhood, but they're nonetheless. Then the marijuana names are all there, whether the ETFs or the actual equity names. I've got all the marijuana names there. Below that is pharma and biotech, which are important names, especially if you're Adara and you're Eli Lilly.
I'm literally in Lilly right now.
Yeah, Adara's and Lilly. There you go. I'm not surprised. So pharma and biotech names, and then as you can see here, social media, battery plays like QuantumScape. Look at QuantumScape go right back into that 9.5. There's QuantumScape on my watch list there. Below that, EV charging names, and then solar, 5G, streaming, and retailers. Pause that if you want to have a look, but that is the the main part of my watch list. We'll get to the other part in just a little bit that I've termed energy.
Very cool. Yeah, sorry, you took me a second there. What I actually have a question about your, I was asking earlier too about the watch list, like,
absolutely.
I guess how you put certain things into certain categories. So now this is maybe a weird question, but what are, I guess, the qualifiers for something being a meme stock? Because I wasn't really here when a lot of those meme stocks were running. Some of them I know, like I know AMC was a meme stock, A-meme-C, or G-meme, GME. I'm just making these up now. But
yeah,
what
that's a fair question. I don't really have like, a set list of credentials that you must have. The Chilean Nightmare is like, look, man, if it made its way onto Wall Street Bets, it's a meme stock. No, we're being more tongue-in-cheek there. I gotta tell you, it's the ones maybe that like have a higher short float, possibly that ran insane amounts like VinFast and DWAC. I know you weren't around for DWAC. That's well, it's not Donald Trump's, but it's the company, it's a SPAC that's supposed to merge with that Truth Social, which is the social.
I've heard
and DWAC was running ridiculous amounts a couple of years ago. GME, AMC, Carvana. Carvana has that huge short float. W as well. Wayfair seems to have a higher short float for whatever reason. This is the one that really doesn't really matter anymore. It's KOSS, K-O-S-S. This had its moment in the sun, kind of like BlackBerry back in 2021, January 2021, when all the memes started moving, and it really has done almost nothing since then. You can look at it today. It's done 5,600 shares traded. So KOSS is kind of like nobody anymore. I don't even think you know what this company is, but I know what it is because I'm old, and they used to make headphones.
Oh, it's just called
KOSS.
I've not heard of them.
No. They just used to make headphones. That's what I know them for, and I'm surprised they're still around. So, yeah, that's the look there. That's how I don't have a set credential though. If something does big boy moves,
then it does big boy moves.
Then it retraces. I'll call it a meme.
So these are like the squeezier names, then I guess. The one with more squeeze potential. Thank you. I appreciate you going over that. Also, I would like to take a moment here to shout out one thing that never goes out of style, Benzinga. So thank you so much to our friends at Benzinga. We are brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Sign up for today for 50% off their premier news and research platform for retail traders with code TTV, capital letters. That is T to the T to the V, capital letters. Use the link in the description to go to checkout. As you can see here, I pulled up Spotify for Chelsea in the chat. You just type in your ticker and you see what's moving. Let's say I'm like, oh, what stories are on Tesla? Let's find out. Here we go. Like there's sometimes list of like things moving right now with some analyst highlights. Sometimes like general takes on the sector, like EV, for example. So yeah, I just think lots of stuff to find there on Benzinga. Always appreciate it. Shout out to them. Just wanted to pull that up, and they do, thank them very hard for sponsoring us. Thank them very much, I guess. Much appreciated. Also, I can talk about this Eli short that I got out of. So this was, and I appreciate, Sharif and I were talking about this off camera, where you were saying it is making these like lower highs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it very much was, and I think what's interesting too with Eli Lilly is we did have that earlier, we were really respecting the 628 versus a point of resistance, then support, then back to resistance. But then what I was kind of noticing, as I'll draw it out, is another area that was kind of key for Eli Lilly was around, I drew this really crookedly, but the 625 area, because that was where we had that first initial pop in the pre-market 810. This is, I think, when that news came out, which is what the news this is trending on, which is the direct-to-consumer weight loss drugs. And then 1020, we had another pop off that 625. what we fell down from to 625 and held 625 at 1140. And then I noticed we were having these lower highs. And I'm like, it's not a flat bottom break because we're up on the day, but I still thought it'd be interesting. I got in, I didn't get top wick on this. I got in around 624.50. And again, you know, I am on the sim here, but yeah, so 624.50. The initial goals, I was thinking, you know, with the scalpulating, I like to have like general kind of price target ideas. Didn't take too many shares here because Eli Lilly can be a little tricky one. But I liked 621.50 potentially. I did notice we were slowing down a little bit at the 623.75, so I got out 75 cents in the money here, or in the paper trade money for this Eli Lilly trade. So I just wanted to talk that one through. I do love trading these pharma names, so I'm really happy this one ended up being in play. Also, another potential short moving from earlier pharma strength is Novo Nordisk, because this one we're having a little bit of a rounded top. Not, not by the roundy face, but maybe short the frowny face.
Well, that's what he would say.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's essentially the same.
Right? So it's like, I was thinking, like instead of like by the smiley, it's like short the frowny face maybe. I don't know. But right?
You know, he's typically trading on a daily though, because he's a swing trader, right?
Sense. Yeah. So I guess it's like probably like longer term. I know because he was talking about Mara and the round bottom on Mara, which is a crazy look. But yeah, I think this is kind of an interesting look. I don't know if I want to get
involved. We're talking about
involved.
Michael Noss, guys,
yeah,
in case you guys are wondering who we're talking about.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, Michael Noss, thank you again to him for showing up yesterday
Yes, sir.
helping us with the watch list. But yeah, I think Novo Nordisk has been on my personal watch list, with which is more kind of a mental watch list, just with the news that we had with Novo Nordisk this morning as well, teaming up with Omega and Celerity for obesity research. So that and Eli Lilly, definitely some pharma names. I love, for whatever reason, I like trading these pharma names. But yeah, interesting look, and interesting how everybody has different kind of things they're looking for trades. Because you have your very thorough watch list, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I love my
Michael
watch
Noss
list.
has all of his kind of watch list that he was taking us through yesterday, and then Neil too talking about it.
Neil has his own.
Which I thought was really cool, is how everyone is going to have kind of their own things they're looking for.
Guys, Neil was on today at 12 o'clock. In case you missed it, he took us through his morning routine. He gave us an insight into how he puts together the morning mix, etc. So if you want to listen and see how Neil does his morning prep, just rewind to that 12 o'clock time slot and listen to what Neil had to say. I thought it was very, very insightful, and it gave me multiple ideas for me to incorporate into my daily routine as well. So in case you're just joining us, Neil did that bit at 12 o'clock. All right, quickly here, we got to talk about Apple. Apple is coming from the dead, coming back from, it is not the dead one, it was the down one today. Yeah, it is kind of making its way back, I guess, into S1, support level 1 on pivots, which is at that 183.25 area. The high of day on Apple is 183.09. We are awfully close to that high of day. The high of day was put on the implied balance open right there. At around 9:35 a.m. We haven't even been near these levels since 9:30. Let's see if we're able to take that whole dollar level at 183, and whether or not we're able to print newer highs above that 183.09. That's first and foremost. If we do get past that level, yesterday's close, which is important for me as a level of resistance, is at 184.25. If Apple starts really getting going here, wants to go break even on the day, that 184.25, an interesting resistance level for anybody who's going to take this long. It won't be me, but just wanted to make that observation there, because Apple did start getting going here. And then also, Adam DeLuce gave you that dollar winner for NVIDIA off that 485 short into 481 at VWAP. Well, lo and behold, VWAP factoring in today as an important level on NVDA, because it did get that nice bounce off 481. Now it is knocking on the door of 483. Bit of a V-shaped retracement here. Let's see if it can get through 483. It's pumping up now, 482.5. NVIDIA up 1.43%. One of the, I think it is the strongest of the Mag 7 names today. Netflix just marginally ahead, but it's not a Mag 7 name. 1.57% for NFLX. NVDA, though, taking the cake for the Mag 7. Let's see if it can make its way back up, possibly into higher day. So just want to mention that. After that, QuantumScape rejected again off that $9.50 area. Didn't quite make it up into 9.5 this time. It's technically a lower high, so $9.47 was as good as it could do on this attempt. But the thing is, it's putting in higher lows here. So I'm not going to involve myself in QuantumScape. I think I've taken the meat of the move. Now it's a little bit sporadic. You get moves up into resistance, moves back down into support, and then you've got to range trade this for about 50 pennies. That's not my interest, so I'm going to steer clear of this one. But just wanted to make that observation. Then I hear a lot about yelling in the chat about Piton, PTON, up 14 1/5%, clearing $6 after getting some initial resistance at that $6 level. Or sorry, not $6 level. It cleared $6 without a problem. It was at 610 level that it had a problem with some rejections, some candle wicking into 610, then right back down to 602. But now we've cleared that level in spades, and with a high of day now of 618 on Piton. Stair stepping up, higher highs, higher lows on Piton. How can you complain? On the back of the association with TikTok, that what was exactly what was the headline? What are you going to be able to do with TikTok?
I think it's TikTok Fitness powered by Peloton.
What, like how, practically speaking, how is it going to be used?
Yeah, I'm just restating the headline. But you give me a second to pull this up.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, so let me see the story from Ben Zinga here. Okay, partnership for TikTok Fitness powered by Peloton, which includes select live Peloton classes, original instructor series, ongoing creator partnerships, Peloton class clips, and celebrity collaborations. So basically, lots of spawn con with influencers is kind of the vibe I'm getting.
So you're gonna need an iPad though to like use it, because you don't want to be spinning on your phone.
Right? I mean, that's
I
kind
only
of
have
weird.
TikTok on my phone. I don't have an iPad.
I feel like TikTok and iPad would be weird too.
Yeah,
like
it
your
would be.
giant, like you're seeing
Even
like, dance
Instagram.
way too
Have you been
close.
on the Instagram app on the iPad? It's
so
like
weird.
inflated and.
I used to like mostly use my iPad because I didn't have an iPhone until I was 17. So I was like, you know, as a teenager, scrolling iPad on, and it's way also too hard to be like stealthily looking at Instagram on an iPad, right? So believe me, I understand the.
No, but Passover Dose brings up a good point. He says Piton has a TV. Yeah, sure. I don't know. Are you going to be able to access a TikTok app on that? Or we'll have to wait and see how that all works out. But yeah, Neil says if you can't, then I don't understand. I mean, I have no idea what the practical application of it's going to be, but I'm assuming it's got to be something on that, because you're paying an arm and a leg for that TV, because don't tell me the bike's that good. I don't know. I've never used one, so I'm just being facetious. But here we go. Apple coming into 183, guys. Apple has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 5-minute candles that are green in a row. Uninterrupted green move here on Apple, knocking on that whole dollar level, 183, with a 183.09 HOD on Apple. Don't ask me why this is moving up. 3 straight days, Apple made its way on our downgrades board, whether for a price target downgrade or an actual downgrade. But it's not been a good 2024 to start for Apple already. I was just showing you the year-to-date decline on Apple was like 5 2/3 last time I looked at it, and let's see what it is right now. Year-to-date, Apple is down 4.98%. Not a whole too much. I don't know what it was up in 2023. I think it was like something like 30-something%. It was the least strongest of the Mag 7 names on the year. That I know for a fact. So we'll have to wait and see if Apple can get through that 183 area. It's having trouble with it right now, but that is the look there, Adara.
Yeah, that is indeed the look. Yeah, and I think what's just interesting with regards to Peloton, Roger saying in the chat, new year, new me. I think, yeah, honestly, that made me think, I think part of the timing of the Peloton TikTok collaboration with New Year's is kind of brilliant. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people wanting New Year's resolutions, maybe an excuse for people to use TikTok more, maybe some people's resolution to give up TikTok, and TikTok's like, nah, you can work out and TikTok. So I think, you know, obviously like spinning way too much off of a 4-word comment, but I just appreciated that take from Roger. Whether or not it actually has to do with the Peloton thing, I think it's kind of an interesting, something
And
that
James
it made
Dell.
me think about.
James Dell, Peloton is a heck of a lot better than for you than Ozempic. I'm not trying to disparage anybody who's used Ozempic. We don't know the long-term effects of this drug, though. That's just the truth of the matter. Whereas we do know the long-term effects of exercise. You just stay healthy. So
Yeah.
obviously, again, you know,
each person's situation will be different, and
Yeah, to
what's
each their own.
responsible for what's good for you may not be what's good for me. So we'll just leave that at that. But there was another jokes comment here. Hertz Scrambler, piton equals clothes hanger, and that my cousin is responsible for because he bought a Peloton. Yeah, he bought a Peloton during the pandemic, and then I always ask him, like, George, how's your Peloton doing, right? Yes, Chilean Nightmare, he bought it at the highs too, when everybody and their mother was buying a Peloton because you couldn't go anywhere, right? You couldn't hit the gyms, and they obviously were selling for way more than MSRP because you couldn't get them. They were like 6 months in arrear. They couldn't, like, they didn't have a supply. I'm talking about Peloton, the company, so you had to go into the secondary market and buy it from there, and then you paid through the nose. And I asked him, George, how's that Peloton doing? He's like, yeah, it's good. It's in my room. Like, so you're just putting your laundry on it and stuff. And then he'll giggle because he goes to the gym now. He doesn't use it. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. Anyway, BBot 5000 got a Peloton for my girlfriend and Ozempic. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. I gotta read these before I read them out. That's my bad. Come on, bro. Anyway, yes, Sean does have a Piton, Darwin, and he likes it, and he says his daughter uses it a lot. So shout out to the Katina Man who's not here right now. Randy is sitting in the Katina Man seat. So Randy is doing his thing over there.
Oh, there's a Randy shot there.
Yes, ma'am. What is the look here? Anything on your end there, Adara? NVIDIA's continuing to pump, by the way.
Yeah, NVIDIA looking really interesting. NVIDIA breaking 483, which is where I got in for my first initial long there. This was literally a 5-cent long. I wanted to get up from my table and grab some food, so that's what happened here. I was like, I'm getting a little nervous, punch. But I did like the entry. It just wasn't kind of as moving as quickly as I wanted to because the initial prime for profit taking was this 483.70 area, which you just didn't really get. I would like to see what we do at this 483.37 because that is the area from which we fell from grace. Probably too many froms there, but I want to see what we do here. That'll be kind of interesting for me. If we fall back from that again, I might do what I did with Tesla and short it off the pop. I don't mean that as mean reversion as much as if it's a clear area where we've had resistance, I'm looking at the tape and I'm seeing more resistance, I might get in on a short. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. I think that's definitely an interesting look here as well. Also Mara, I'm seeing a little bit of Mara mentions in the chat, and I also looked at Mara and I like what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is kind of, I mean, the flat top, this 225.40, like I almost said like 254, and I'd be like, that'd be, you know, like a news-breaking thing for Mara. But yeah, kind of an interesting look. We are seeing higher lows and almost a flat top. So it could be a flat top break, but I mean, it's been a while since we've kind of seen this top of that 25.40. Interesting look though, for sure here on Miss Mara. Not doing a marathon today, kind of doing more of a jog, but I like, you know, slow and steady wins the race.
Yep.
So we'll have to wait and see what we do here on marathon. Also, I've been keeping my eye on Meta because I like this. I'm just doing again to kind of show higher lows, higher highs. Sharif pointed this out as well. Meta moving to the upside. Not in a meta way, in a mega way. But I do, I was trying to get in on this at that 347 and then I just didn't get filled. I was literally a cent away. I was very sad. But you know, you got to brush it off the shoulder, dirt off the shoulder, shout out to Jay-Z, and wait and see for the next move. Honestly, and I don't, like, you know, stocks move different ways, different times, but I find Meta one of my favorites to kind of range trade if I see a really clear defined range like this. So if we have a bit of a pullback, I might short it till we get to a point I go long again. I'm going to keep an eye on this if I can get a fill there, but I do like how Meta has been looking. And also, as you said, you really called the NVIDIA pop there, Sharif. We're now popping right back into my area of interest, which is that 483.40, 483.50 area. So I'm going to keep an eye on NVIDIA. Stano saying new high for Piton. I realized, yeah, new high would have meant nothing if I just the way I said it, but oh my God, Piton, pedaling to the upside. Yeah, you were saying
spinning or
to
pedaling.
The upside, and I was thinking you got to pedal. I was like, Sharif.
I didn't actually mean that though.
No, it's okay.
No, but I know you're good with them, like in the sense that you think about these. If I do them, it's because I said it by accident.
It's okay. No, I was just thinking, I was like, no, but I like the look of this. Congrats to Neil, who I believe is still in this long. Because this break, we broke that flattish top with a vengeance.
Oh, did we ever?
Yeah, the setup of this one was super clear. I would also even argue, maybe sort of, for profit-taking purposes, Do we see a bull flag here?
Okay, so then what's the move for the bull flag?
I was just gonna say.
Go.
So
Bang.
I think if I start the flag pull here, which I will, this 548 to about
To the break of-
590.
yeah.
So that's going to give you about 45 cents of movement to the upside. Now we broke out at this 585 to about, right now we're at 619, so 585. You're going to want to take this one to about 635 potentially, or sorry, that's 40 cents. We're gonna do 630 for 45 cents of potential mental mathing over here for a potential movement. That would be my take on this. We're gonna see if this actually occurs. So Combax Rex's comment making me laugh here with regards to me talking about the flagpole measurement. Very funny. I like that he adds JK
like
at the
that.
end.
Yeah,
Great participant in the chat.
I'm
really
terrible.
enjoyed.
You're good, brother. We like you.
We enjoyed that. It's a pun, and it's all in good fun here. It's all in good pun.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so what I'm looking at mostly right now, Sharif, is Meta.
It's a
Also,
fantastic
how
look.
is QS going?
Look at
Quantum
this.
leasing
Again, a rejection. We put in a new high a day there. So previously, it was $9.53. Now the high a day on QuantumScape is $9.59. But we're really having trouble with this $0.50 area. Every time we get to or clear the 950 area, we are being met with renewed selling. So these topping tail candles, if I was to look at this on a wider time frame, and we will in a second here, you'll be able to see topping tail candles, which typically is an indication that shorts are instituting their position at that level. And here we go. Here's the first one. This is the first rejection, topping tail candle galore, but it was met with renewed buying. So this is what's kind of bamboozling about it. You don't want to put too much stock into one candle, but this is definitely a prototypical topping tail candle. But what followed subsequent to that was, not what I would have expected. I would have expected a bit of at least a touch to the 10 EMA here, which is the green level with the green line on my chart, or at least VWAP. You didn't get either. What you are getting, though, is trouble at the $9.50 level. So we'll have to wait and see if we're able to clear $9.50 with any vigor on a closing basis. It's one thing to wake up into a level above 9.5. It's another thing to close above it on a wider time frame. Currently, I'm on the 15. So you can see here, essentially, since the bell, Adara, on the 15-minute chart, there have been 2 red candles. One of them is a topping tail that we talked about, and then there's this one here at 115. Let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 candles since the bell, 2 of which are red. So, I mean, if you're going to stand in front of this for a possible short, good luck. It won't be me doing that. Anyway, we're above 9.5 right now on QuantumScape. Let's see if we get continuation. 959 high, as I was saying. Let's pull that back. And now let's look at AAPL, because we were talking about Apple earlier knocking on the door of 183, and you had an initial rejection here on Apple at the whole dollar level, followed by 2 red candles. But here we go again. We're 5 pennies away from that whole dollar level on Apple with a 183.09 high of day. If we're able to clear that, I was saying earlier, and I'm not saying we're going to get up there, but I was saying earlier that the previous day's close, yesterday's close on Apple, is 184.25, and that also happens to be the institutional wick high here at 8 a.m. Anybody who's been trading for a while knows that we get institutional orders at 8 a.m. that often skew the chart. And the IB high, or the institutional level high at 8 a.m. is around that 184.25, not really surprising there. So Apple continuing to find a nice bounce here. Meta was the other name that Adara mentioned. This one is putting in a series of higher highs and higher lows as it breaks through R1, resistance level 1 for pivot points, which is the teal dotted line on my chart, through that 348. It got to 348.15, but now having trouble with that whole dollar level coming in a smidge below. And then last but not least is what Adara was just talking about, the retracement off, or the bounce off VWAP on NVIDIA at that 481 level. Now we just knocked on the door of 484, so that would have been a nice $3 banger had we taken that. But let's finish on this. The future, we did clear 16.5. So we were below 16.5 to start the day. The IB high right there at 8:30 was exactly 16.5. We now have retaken 16.5 now and using it as a level of support. For how long though, right? We're still negative on the day on the NQ. To get positive, we got to get above that 16.5 1/3. We're not there yet. We've been flirting with that 16.5 1/4. I think the most important thing to note is that we are above 16.5, and even when we did come back into 16.5, it was on a wicking basis. We weren't really able to close there for a prolonged period of time, so we'll have to wait and see whether the market can get its foot under it and make maybe an attempt back at the high of day with 16.587, maybe even that 16.6. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that can happen. I think, you know, maybe Apple will have to participate in that move up, but we'll have to pack our patience and see. Going back quickly to QuantumScape, another rejection off that 9.5. We're really not able to hold above there, but the saving grace for QuantumScape is the fact that we're putting in higher lows. So you did get the higher high because we did break the high of day. It's on a trend now, but a much more choppy trend than the one that we participated on early on, which was like one green candle after another, after another, after another. Now it's a lot more choppy, and the entries a lot less clear than they were earlier on QuantumScape. So make sure if you're involved in this name, you are watching it closely. And Peloton, the monster on the day that is Peloton, up over 16% now, knocking on the door there of that 6 1/4. We didn't do any daily charting here on Peloton, so I don't even really know what to expect. Neil, are you still in Peloton? Neil, you still in Peloton? What's your target, brother? So Neil's... Okay. Neil, he's got a price target in front of 40s, and he's trailing. Where are you trailing? In the mid-teens. He's trailing. He's got a trailing stop in the mid-teens on Piton. Let's put Piton over here. So in the mid-teens, so he would be around right here with a trailing stop right below this candle here, and then he's got a price target, a resting profit taker around that 640 area on Piton. A great look on the day there.
Yeah, the very good look there. I accidentally, so I'm just trying to get out of this Tesla, and yeah, there we go, we're out. So as I was trying to get out of this Tesla short, I accidentally bought into a long. We got out, though, we're all good. Did not lose anything on that. But yeah, I mean, I want to talk about this Tesla short because I saw we came back into that 241.60 and we rejected again. So I got back in the same area where we rejected.
Fabian, if you can go to her chart.
So basically, I like the short on this because, like I said, we rejected off that 241.60, tried to get that, then we rejected again off that 241.60. Just now I decided I want to get in on this if I can. The initial plan for profit taking was similar to my first one, so trying to get my first taste of profits, my first beak wetter, if you will. Why am I not using the analogy here?
I know.
I guess the first part of the Cybertruck here at this 241.10, and then get more, not gas, but acceleration here until I liked this area of this 240.60, this double bottom. Alas, we did not get there. I noticed a bit of chop and churn at that 241.30, so I decided to get out there. Then I accidentally still had a buy order ready at the 241.20. That is what we call a fat finger trade. And I was like, oh no. So then I got out basically same place I got in, more or less here. We didn't lose anything here. It's just very much like acting quickly. I know Neil said it before, like if you accidentally I'm paraphrasing, I apologize. If you accidentally like fat finger into a position, just make sure you get out. You know what I mean? So I got out, we're learning, learning every day. In the sim, I hope learning every day. And I have to say, I'm pretty, looking back on these Tesla trades today, with the exception of this fat finger one, although even then that didn't go too awry. I have to say, pretty happy with just sticking to what I like doing, which is the scalping, and just trying to get more refined at my scalping, scalpulating, knowing when to hold them, knowing when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Shout out to that song. But yeah, so I think, yeah, this is, I guess, the kind of the look here on Tesla. Also scalp. I love the scalp.
Scalpulation.
Scalpulation. Yeah. But no, I like the look on this. Also, NVIDIA rejecting off of, shout out to Adam DeLuce earlier for pointing this out. And I said I would be interested in NVIDIA if we reject off this 483.50. And look, we kind of are again. I'm not going to get involved yet, but I do like the look of this to the downside. Yeah, today I've just been kind of going long or short alternatingly on stuff I see that I like. It's mostly just been Lilly, NVIDIA, Tesla, which are coincidentally kind of my favorite names to trade.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to say it's been a pretty solid day, just sticking to names I like, sticking to my quote unquote watch list to bring it back to our topic of
Fair,
today.
yeah, which is right where I'm going next. We went through what I termed loosely the growth watch list. Again, these are misnomers because they are no longer categorized by growth and value, but I've just kind of left them the way they are. Here's the second watch list. It starts off with energy. As you can see, energy is all red on the day, whether it's a futures contract or the related equities names. You have a 0.5% move down on the CL, February contract, XOM, CVX, Oxy, Devon, they're all in the red. And so this is my watch list for energy. Thank you for that, Fabian. I appreciate that. Fabian, the Chilean Nightmare, getting in on that zooming. All right. Below that, we have airlines. Important. Airlines were an absolutely interesting trade in 2023. They had some of their best, demand post-pandemic. And we saw these guys pumping in the summer and in the spring as demand for services and experiences really trumped the demand for goods. We saw that rotation in the middle to late part of last year. So airlines there as well, followed by cruise lines. They're all travel's having a great day today, whether you're airlines or cruise lines. And so these are the names that I've got on there. You can obviously pause them and copy if you'd like. Banking. How important is banking? The king of the banks, I guess, irrespective of how you feel about it, JPM is the monster. It's now a $500 billion company, JP Morgan. Shout out to Jeremy and his boys over there. We're kidding, of course, it's Jamie. Got JPM, Schwab, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citi, Morgan Stanley, you name it. There are the names that I have on my banking watch list. Some of the bottom ones like BMO, CM, TD, and RY, these are Canadian banks, and so you may not be interested in them, but I keep them on there because, well, I'm Canadian and I want to know what they're doing. So, by the way, I just wanted to mention something about Canadian banks. They're not as exciting as American banks, but they are known worldwide as being excellent stewards of capital. And you're not going to see these bad boys taking too much risk. And as a result, I'm not saying your investment is secure. It's really never secure in any equity, but a lot more secure than I would say some other comps. So Canadian banks have a good reputation for a reason. Consumer defensive. There as well. I got the Targets, the Costcos, the Walmarts, Kohl's. I would have called this retailers, but some of them are not retailers. Like you got your Procter & Gamble, your Unilever, your Colgate, Palmolive, right? Some of these ones are important for me because they were the staples, right? We had a lot of rotation last year at a discretionary spending like the Amazons and the others into some of the more staples. Now, you have a limited budget, you're going to buy what you need rather than what you can live without. And we saw the Foot Lockers take a shellacking last year. Nike took a shellacking as well. So some of the more discretionary items got killed last year, but the staples did well. Below that, we got nat gas plays, right? Natural gas. UNG up another 4.25% today. It just waited until I took a hit on it to pump up. But yeah, UNG almost back to $6. Unreal. Boyle, 4.75 as well. Uranium. Let me just minimize this because I want to bring this up. Chilean Nightmare, are you able to zoom out a bit? Because I can't get the bottom part of my thing. Thank you very much. RBLX is pumping. Katina Man? Remember that SoFi? Yes, yes. The Katina Man is back. He's been gone for a little bit, so we haven't been able to update you on his positions, but he's still in that Roblox long. He's still in SoFi. He's still doing his thing with both those trades. So if you're following along with the Katina Man, I just want to update you on that. Below that, we have uranium names like CCJ and some other URG, URA. I like uranium names. I think it's going to be a burgeoning, whether sector or commodity or whatever you want to call it, because of the small modular reactors that I think will be produced en masse. Below that, we got mining and infrastructure. You can pause those and have a look at some of those names as well. I just want to update you on that because maybe we have some people joining in that didn't get to see it earlier. All right, back to QuantumScape. Again, we're continuing to have trouble with that $9.50 area. It's breaking above it, but then rejecting below it. But what I really see here are the higher lows. Even though we can't break through that 950 aggressively on a closing basis, the buyers are incrementally overwhelming sellers vis-a-vis the higher lows. So one has to question whether this 959 top on QuantumScape is going to stay intact for much longer, or whether we explode to that $10 level. 9.5 is a top for a reason, guys, and we earmarked this level before it ever made it up there, and it is one that was obvious on the daily chart. You need only look at the price action here in mid-July. That was the trough. How many times have we said resistance becomes support and support becomes resistance? Well, there you go. We based out here for almost 5 days at that 9.5, where we weren't able to close below it before popping back up into almost 14 bucks back on July 31st. Lo and behold, we finally make our way back into that high, and we find resistance at 9.5. Not surprising. Support does become resistance. Technical analysis is not astrology.
It's I feel like it's like, yeah, it's like, well, yeah, you're right. It's kind of similar to like the whole idea of like like having signs, and sometimes they mean something and other times they mean nothing. You know what I mean? So I think that I like that. I really like that analogy that Fabian was dropping earlier with astrology. And,
yes, ma'am. That's why I stole it from him.
I mean, it was a good analogy, right? I mean, I feel like we're always like, stealing phrases in terms of phrases around here, right?
Yeah, we do. We're good like that. Nobody gets upset.
No, it's what we do.
Yeah.
We're pleased as punch about it, actually.
Hey.
To use a phrase that I know Sharif enjoys, that I have, that he's kind of borrowed. We all Fabian.
That's hilarious,
yeah,
bro.
that's very funny. Also, yeah, no, I really enjoy you. I appreciate you going over your watch list again, too. And I like, too, that on your top market names, you don't have any stocks. You just have general,
just
market, like NQ. You don't want no scrubs. We're just focusing on the meat and potatoes, right?
Want
no scrubs.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that for sure. I appreciate it.
Adara, we just broke through 183 on Apple. So we've been talking about 183 being a top here on AAPL. Now we're above 183, but not on a closing basis. The high of the day is 183.09. We've been waiting for a possible new high of day here on AAPL as it comes off the bottom there at 180.88. Good number. I like 88. Is a good number. We are coming into that support level 1, which is at 183.20. So we're going to have to see if that features in or not. Yesterday's closing price, if we really get going to the north side here on Apple, is 184.25. We have to get through the previous day's high, but Apple now above that level. Adara, whether it stays above there, an entirely different story.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see. I think, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of these kind of mega caps continuing to be really interesting. There's Tesla, which continues that 241.70 rejection once, twice, actually arguably 3 times, with slightly higher, lower highs as well. It might, actually might be a little bit compression on Tesla. We're still up on the day, which is why I didn't want to super stay in this short for that long, just short the pop. Kind of have my profit takers planned out, you know what I mean? But everybody's strategy is going to be different, right? I think also Tesla as a short will be interesting if we bounce back off this 240.60 area again. So not as a short, but just Tesla in general, watching its movement. Also, Meta. Meta is making a mega swoop to the downside.
Swoop.
But we haven't, swoop, there it is. But we haven't made any lower lows yet. So I think probably still good right now for Meta. Like I said, Meta's been super rangy in a way that I enjoy. Tried to get a fill around 347. Alas, it was not meant to be.
Alas.
But, gotta keep trucking. Also, looks like I got out of this NVIDIA short, a skosh early here. But I did have this little NVIDIA short. I got out because I noticed a little bit of struggles getting decisively below 483. Took it out at 480, 299. Very small position. Yeah, the initial plan for profit takers was partially some out of that 482.50, and then maybe some more out of that 482.30 area, just kind of previous areas of consolidation. That's what I like. That's my style. But also, I'm noticing I was regretting getting out where I did. But look, now we're coming back towards 482.99. That's why, scalpulating, I mean, maybe there's a method to my madness. We'll see. But that's kind of my take here. Vincent Capeche, I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong, asking about Chewy. I'll pull up Chewy and, wrong ticker. This isn't a NYSE. And I had a NASDAQ. But let's go look at any news on Chewy. Let's see what Chewy is chewing on right now. That was a weak one. Not seeing anything specific on Chewy. But yeah, okay, this is, yeah, it's moving. It's certainly interesting looking, but I would say generally just a downward trend. We did break, though, a little bit to the upside. I'm going to draw this out. I apologize, as usual, for my horrible trend drawing abilities. I am not Picasso. But, like, you know, this trend line is in the wrong place, but, you know, we did have the kind of consistent downward trend, but then we broke a newer high. We broke above this 2078 area, and now we're swooping to the upside. Next high to break here, at least on the 5-minute, would be this 2090. That would also coincide with VWAP. That would give us confluence. Shout out to Opie. You know what I mean? So I think, and again, like, you know, Sharif and I have said, and this is the huge thing I learned from Sharif as well, is VWAP is a super important level. That was something I talked about with Sean when he had me on as a guest. Market recap, I really appreciated the opportunity, and we kind of were ironing out the importance of, shout out to the market recap. Fabian's always on it.
No, it was Sean.
Oh, that was Sean?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know Sean had.
Yeah, I saw his hand slip in there, yeah.
But yeah, and I think one of the big things too that I learned on that was, you know, the importance of VWAP as a level. Sean was saying it's, you know, one of the the must-have indicators on your chart, and I agree. But also what I was kind of talking about with Sharif and I when we were doing one of our technical indicators week is that VWAP's one of those things that's always important to know where it is, but it's not always going to come into interaction with the stock. So I think what I say that to basically. What I'm trying to say here is, I think with VWAP being as important as it is as a level, the volume-weighted average price, I think it coming into, you know, key level at VWAP can always add a little bit of confluence, add a little spice. Shout out to Salt Bay, that meme there, to your stock, right? And so I think if we break this 2090 at the same time we cross VWAP, I think that could be really a nice bullish move here for Chewy. In general, though, I do like that we broke out of that downward trend.
Yes, ma'am. Good look there. All right. Let's have a look here at YELLQ. I just got an email forwarded here from Jeffrey Mendel saying that there is a lot of trading activity today on YELLQ and EBIXQ. So here's the look on, remember Yellow? Remember the trucking company that went belly up early in the year, YELLQ. Essentially, it's a less than capacity trucking delivery service. So if you have less than a container full, they're the people you typically ship with, and it was really a bad year for them in 2023. They ended up going into a bankruptcy protection, and as a result, they got relegated from, I don't know if they were on the NASDAQ or the NYSE, but they are now trading on the OTC markets. It was a good day yesterday from what I see here for YELLQ. Let me put in the ticker quickly, sorry. LLQ. Kind of getting off the schneid there at $5, seemed to be the low at the open, and it ended up finishing off the day $6.10. So $1.10 there for YELLQ, which is a great move up. I mean, percentage-wise, look at this. The percent, that's a 30% move. It's 26.87%. Yesterday on YELLQ, but not much doing today. I'm not really sure what Jeff's talking about. It's only about a 4% move today on YELLQ from the low to the high. But yeah, keep your eye on that if you're interested. The other one he was saying EBIXQ, EBIX. This one doing real nice today. So I don't know what this company is. Let me tell you, EBIXQ. This one is a company, it's a provider of on-demand infrastructure, software exchanges, and e-commerce services. All right, whatever. Yesterday closed out at $1.50. Today it's at $2.83. Guys, this one is up 84.5% on the day. EBIXQ. Fantastic day for this name. Coming off that $1.50 close from yesterday, and with a high a day right now of $2.83, it's very close to the high at $2.78. And when you look at the daily chart on this, I don't know why I can't get anything before. Let me see here, the half an hour. Yeah, it looks like this one made its way onto the OTC back on December 28th was the first day it started trading on the OTC markets. And since that time, it's been up and to the right of Dara, starting off its OTC life there at 50 pennies, and now it's knocking on the door of $3. So shout out to Jeffrey Mendel there for the call out and letting us know what's moving in real time. That is on the OTC markets, the over-the-counter markets, Adara. But look at QuantumScape Go, 950 resistance, no more. It doesn't care about your feelings. It's on the way up. Headline today with Volkswagen has this bad boy up 50%, 49.21% for QuantumScape solid state battery that doesn't degrade with 500,000 kilometers driven, according to the report from Volkswagen. We'll have to see if this company can actually deliver. There's been a lot of, hope that we can get some sort of leap in the battery technology kind of area. Whether or not they'll be the ones to deliver is going to be up for debate. But today it is rocketing to the upside, Adair.
So you said leap in battery technology. Did you mean perhaps a quantum leap in battery technology?
Wow. I know somebody said that in the chat earlier. I liked it, right?
I've been saying quantum leap all day. And
Have you? Okay, so they're probably taking it off you then.
I know Compass RX said Quantum of Solace, which I really appreciated.
Okay. Yes, I do remember that one. That was a good one.
But yeah,
QuantumScape is pumping. It's squeezing here, Adair. $9.80. Here we go. Breaking through levels. This one is on its way, likely to $10 here, as the squeeze is on over 50% now on QuantumScape, taking out all the levels. Here we go. 985. I'm seeing on the bid there is 86. What do we have? Do we get 87s? I feel like an auctioneer when I do this kind of stuff, but
give me.
I love when things start pumping to the high side like this, but it is 2 o'clock, Adair.
Yes, it is 2 o'clock. I almost said my name again. It is 2 o'clock, Sharif. And Quantum continues to run. But for now, we are going to run off to the big desk. We will see you tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. Brendan's at the big desk.
I love this.
In time, but here we go. Yeah, 2 hours to go on a pretty busy afternoon. Good look there. As far as QuantumScape is concerned, a good look for electric vehicles, maybe. Yep. 500,000 without any degradation. Seems like a pretty good number. Toyota was doing a lot of